Okay. How's it going, everybody? Just getting the stream started here. As usual, I didn't give a heads up to anybody, so there's no one in the chat yet. Um, just kind of getting things set up. Hopefully, everything's working okay. My computer was having some issues, so like it had a problem starting the stream. So hopefully, hey Earl, how's it going? How's my audio? Is it okay? Hey Roxy. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Nate, what's up, man? Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, so a lot to cover today. Hopefully, I can get through it all. So I'm just going to jump right into it. In the previous streams, we've covered a lot of. There's like two major aspects to the world script, in my opinion, and it's kind of like a before and after. And what we've covered so far is essentially like what's at the North Pole. Allegedly, I've never been there, but just based on the symbolism and other things, uh, maps and things like that. It seems like there's a circular four continents at the North Pole and a large mountain at the North Pole known as Rupus Nigra or Mount Meru or Mount Olympus and a bunch of other names. And and then there's like a dome above the earth, so that would be like the before aspect of it, and then the after aspect would be the blue beam shooting through the North Pole mountain and the dome retracting, and then the dome would come back at a certain point, but that's like the after of that aspect of the world script. So in this stream we're going to be talking about the other major aspect of the world script, and it's going to be the twin pillars turning into one central pillar. So the before is, of course, what you're seeing here. These are the twin pillars, and then the after is this central pillar. So these are like really the two main elements of the world script that kind of pretty much everything falls into and can be like part of the description of these two events. Um, So also notice too, this is the Freedom Tower, and at the top here, you have the this almost looks like a dome, and then you have the beam shooting up through the center of the dome, and they even have like these it looks like 7 O portals, like it's going through the layers of the firmament. Hey everyone in the chat. It's great to see you guys. I'm gonna be just kind of steamrolling through this because there's way too much information probably to get through, but I'll try my best. But very interesting too. I think this is, the beam shooting through the layers of the firmament. This is what this represents. And, this is even like a pyramid shape here. One World Trade Center. Interestingly enough, the site is 16 acres. So you have your six there. You have 1,600 feet apart, this and that, but it's also built on the former six World Trade Center building. So this is like that 6 to 9 symbolism, where the six is like the left pillar and nine would be up at the top where God is, but they want to be the imposter God, the replacement for God. And this is all on the world stage, of course. I've shown this before. This is they have like basically two blue beams shooting up from the area where the original pillars were, and if you look at it from the ground like this, it looks like they go up to a point because this is how our vision works. They're actually parallel beams, but when they shoot up like this, it looks like they're hitting the apex dome, and it's like making this pyramid mountain shape. And here's another view of it. This looks even more like it's going through the apex dome, and birds are apparently attracted to these lights also. And birds are a big symbol of humans. A lot of animals are symbolic of humans, like pigs, for instance. If you see like pigs mentioned in one of these world script movies or TV shows, it's pretty much always going to reference someone who's like, in love with the physical world and, acting like a pig essentially. But it seems obvious, but you wouldn't notice unless you're looking for it. It comes up a lot with the pig stuff and the bird stuff too. Like you'll often see birds in cages. You'll often see the villains, killing birds in some way, because the bird is like, the animal that takes flight, that it represents us, going up and essentially meeting Christ in the sky. Um, and being able to fly, on a spiritual level, like flying up the chakra ladder, which I'll be getting to. And I didn't mention this the first time I showed this. Oops, how do I do this? Nope. Oh, it's like this. But the Pentagon also has a blue beam that shoots up from it. So it's really, they installed three blue beams after the event in New York in 2001. And this One World Trade Center, it's designed as a square anti-prism. So I thought that was interesting because this is such a hugely symbolic thing that happened on the world stage. And hey, Susie, good to see you, and good to see all you guys. Osram, good to see you guys. Uh, so when I saw this word anti-prism, it made me think of antichrist immediately. So I looked up the correlation between prism and Christ, and there actually is one. Where it's apparently a metaphor used to describe how Jesus reveals the nature and glory of God with a regular prism. So if Jesus is like the prism, then they're putting up the anti-prism. And here's some more if you want to pause the screen and check this out. But it's interesting. I didn't even, I just assumed that would be a relation, and it was. Because after you look at enough of this stuff, you get to know how these people work. That's why they put that One World Trade on the number 6 building spot. So this is a very basic like tree of life representation, and here you see the chakra ladder basically going from red to the blues and violets. And you could put all the planets and the sun and moon on this as well. And then Pluto, this is like the devil guarding the third eye area, and this would be like the left pillar, and this would be the right pillar. And if you notice, like these they correlate to what you would think, because the right pillar is the Jesus pillar, the Christ pillar, the left pillar is like the Lucifer pillar, the Antichrist pillar. So Venus, Jupiter, which is like another name for Jesus, in my opinion. Uranus, notice how they make fun of Uranus, they make fun of Jesus and all that stuff. And on the left pillar, you have Mercury, which is like the trickster god, among other things. Mars is like the war god. Saturn is like the overseer, the all-seeing eye, the controller of time, all that. So, and then Neptune at the top, you have the full trident. God is known for, like, one of the first things in the Bible, it says God divided the waters, so that's you know it seems like there's waters outside of the earth, which would be like a Neptune thing, of course. um so I like to picture this as twin pillars, and then this would be the central pillar. So you basically have God and the devil in the central pillar too, and then the sun and the moon are essentially projections from that apex dome, which is also above the at the top of the central pillar. So these are actually, if you want to check out some of my previous videos, the pre-produced videos, if you haven't, a lot of the content from this particular live stream comes from my Tree of Life video, which has the JFK thumbnail, I think, and then the two after it also. So one's like the alien invasion one, which I think is it Agent Smith? No, I think the next one's oh, it's probably Tom Hanks, and then the next one is Agent Smith, and it's about like the rain dance and all the dancing usage and the Mandela effect, and on the world's stage in the world script. So those three videos in particular are where a lot of this information is going to come from, and if you want more information on these topics, you'll find it there too. So you can picture here, I have it like fading over it. So this is how like the three pillars would kind of stack up with the tree of life. And this is just like all the different world script media that we're presented with throughout our lives can all be placed on these three pillars. So just going through it, and there's a lot of this in that tree of life video, but you have like the white, the black, and it's like the game of chess too. This is why they always have the black and white chessboard. And of course, chess is about protecting the king. So this is like some Freemasonic sketch, or you know charcoal or whatever. Um, so like the moon, this downward arrow, this is like water, and then this is like the fire arrow and the sun on the left, and the left pillar is masculine, the right pillar is feminine. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but you have strength, wisdom, and I think you can't see this. Let me see. What if so yeah, the B here is for beauty on the right. So you have the three pillars are essentially strength, wisdom, and beauty. Okay, so we got the tree of life. Uh, Thanks, Susie. Glad to have you here. So here you could also see this would be like the central mountain pyramid, and here we have the 3, 6, and 9. And you could put the other numbers here too, like 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. And I think I'm not 100% on this, but when the numbers are doubled, it kind of means like both pillars represent that number. So that's another reason why I think 33 is a good number because it's kind of like the right pillar, winning out over the left pillar, and that's why 66 is like the evil twin number. And I'll show it in this video coming up, but the word twin actually equals 66 because this is like the evil twin of the right pillar. So when you have a left pillar takeover, that's like the 6 and 6. And of course, 9 at the top would be where God is. And these are like spirals. The 6 is like a downward spiral, and the 9 is like an upward spiral. And you could also place the colors over these pillars also. Now, this is like a two-dimensional look of it. You can visualize this in different ways, but essentially, from my research, the green is the right pillar, red is the left pillar, and then the central pillar is this yellow, blue, and white coloring. And white would be at the top, though. So you have to kind of visualize this from a like a three-dimensional way. And I'll show you some other ways to look at this too. And this is like the cyan color. So this is like the Christ color, the color of truth and all that. And Christ is like sitting on the right hand of God. Christ is the path to God. So it makes sense you go from the right, being right pillar oriented, or having the right pillar rule you, to the top. And then, interestingly enough, magenta is like the opposite of that. So I know Matt from Quantum of Conscience talks about the magenta a lot. So I think it's like the Antichrist color, but I'm not 100% on that yet. So here you have like Columbia. Columbia represents that central blue beam. So here you have, the step pyramid mountain at the bottom, and then she's rising up with the eternal flame, and her colors are that, white, blue, and yellow coloring. So she's that central pillar. And one thing I learned from Jay Dreamers too is this word Columbia. It's like the column of Yah. So when you see like IA or EA, it's like Yah, like the name for God. So it's like the column of God, essentially. Now this is interesting too. Oh, so in this live stream, I'm going to be mentioning a lot of Mandela effects, and let me put this here. So just right off the bat, like so I don't forget, I just want to say some channels who I basically like established my just moving some things around here, sorry. But so like I built like a whole like huge foundation of like a Mandela effects, like a Mandela effect like database, and that's how I put together a lot of these connections and patterns and things. So the channels that first woke me up to the Mandela effect being a supernatural phenomenon were Brian Stavely and Jacobian. So I definitely recommend checking them out. And I also found a channel called Maybe It's Mandela, and she has a ton of Mandela effects, like over 1,000 videos, I think. And then after her, I went through Moneybag's 73 channel, who's amazing. He's like, probably the top guy on the Mandela effect. And then Hazel Fiver. And Hazel Fiver is an awesome channel too. He's got like over 1,000 videos too, I think. So if you're really looking into the Mandela effect, if you're interested in it, if you want to see a bunch of examples of the Mandela effect that you probably weren't aware of, I recommend just browsing through all 5 of those channels. And you don't have to like go into it as deep as I did if you don't want to, where you look at like pretty much every video. But just like scroll through them, and like certain things will pop out to you because we all have different life experiences. We all have different memories. So like certain things will be, strong memories and changes for you, whereas they might not be memories for me or changes for me. So, but if you go through those channels, you'll see thousands of changes or, possible changes. I tend to agree with almost all of what those 5 people have put out though. So, Just the fact that we're all on the same page like that is impossible if this weren't actually happening. You know, that's just not a. If you look into like the statistics of how people remember and or misremember things, it's impossible to have so many people misremembering things all the same way. Like it's literally like mathematically, statistically impossible. So, but I'll be getting into a lot of Mandela effects in this stream actually. So, I think this will actually be a really good stream for people if you're still on the fence with the messaging of the Mandela effect and it fitting into the world script. I think that I'm going to be showing a ton of examples here and how they fit into the world script and with this three pillar paradigm. And of course, you might disagree, but I think a lot of people are going to see something that they haven't seen before and make connections and maybe have like an epiphany, moment from this. Hopefully. Hey, unindoctrinated. Good to see you, man. Oh no, I didn't know that. Apparently, Natalie passed away. I didn't know that. Natalie was awesome. Really sorry to hear that. Uh, yeah, that's rough news. I had no idea. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what to say. It's kind of tough news to get. But I'll be carrying on with the presentation here. So here we have this guy. I don't want to say his name, but okay. Apparently, the news came out last night. Yes, I'm sorry to hear that. That's tough news. Natalie was awesome. So this is Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, and this was his like best friend. They worked out together. So for anyone who knows this person, I don't want to say the name right away because it's a Mandela effect for sure. His first name is Franco, and his last name starts with a C, and it relates to the stuff I was just showing you. Here they are working out, and here's what his name is now. So his name used to be Franco Colombo, like I typed it here, but now his name is Franco Colombu, which is ridiculous. No one's ever heard of this name before. I can't stress enough how ridiculous this is. But it relates to, I'm not 100% sure on the letter changes. I am on a lot of them, but not all of them yet. So that will be yeah, as people are saying in the chat, it was always Columbo. I mean, I never even heard of this name Columbu. It's insane. But I can pretty much guarantee that it relates to this, column of Yah, to the blue beam, to Columbia. And as you can see, there are people in this Google search who this person made an article for greatest physiques. So this guy's really into bodybuilding, and he writes Franco Colombo. So this person who wrote this, here's another greatest physique. So this person who's writing these articles or people, they don't know what his name is. Here's another Franco Colombo on Reddit, Flickr Colombo, Instagram Colombo. So all these people who care about this just don't know what his name is. But obviously it's a Mandela effect. And the name Franco means free or free man, interestingly enough, or brave one. So it's the free people, the brave people that are going to be at Colombia, that at the North Pole area, which is it's going to be at least the at paradise, God's God's place where he exists on the physical plane. And Columbus is actually from the word dove, if you look that up. So the dove is obviously important. I don't want to go off on too many tangents because there's just so much to get to. But I just showed it there. But if you're familiar with the country Colombia, like how would you spell the name Colombia? So this is another change that relates to the column of Yah. So now Columbia is spelled Colombia, and I know for a fact that this was Columbia, Lumbia. And as you can see, just check out any Colombian coffee and it will say COLO and it looks ridiculous. I have a few examples here. So look like Folgers Colombian. And this is also a Mandela effect too. I think there was a D in the word Folgers. And there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there, but I don't want to get off on too many tangents. But the word Colombia looks absolutely ridiculous to me now. Here's a Nescafe. Just, anything you look up is going to have this Colombian spelling with the two O's. So interestingly enough, one Columbia name had a U added to it and a O removed, and the other Colombian name had a U removed and an O added to it. So it's almost like a switch. So going back to the three pillars and the colors, yeah, Art's saying he remembers Folgers with a D. I do too. It's not like a huge one for me, but I remember the D. Um, and this is another way to look at it. It's like you could picture like spiraling up in like a three-dimensional space where red is at the bottom and violet is at the top. And this would be like what I call the chakra ladder. So kind of this is from a previous video I made where it actually shows it spiraling up. So you could think of it like that too. Like if you were like looking straight down at these three pillars, it would be like a spiral rising up like this. And you could also think of it like this too. This is just like some candle I found on Google, but you have like, and this is also important as to why the rainbow changed, because now rainbows have red at the top and violet at the bottom. And but that might seem like a negative, but if you think about it in terms of a circular rainbow, the North Pole center would be at the center. So now the circular rainbow has violet on the inside closer to the North Pole, which I think actually makes a lot of sense. And this is how like the chakra colors are supposed to be in the human body. This is something I never really cared about, to be honest. Like I had heard of it, but I couldn't even have told you, you know, what these chakra colors were or what their names were or anything, just like, you know, prior to 2021, I guess. But I mean, you can believe this or not, but I was basically told by the Holy Spirit to research this and apply it to the Mandela effect, and it definitely works out in a lot of cases. So in this is a previous video where I was showing a lot of examples of doors. So the door in the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie changed from red to blue. So as I was saying in previous live streams, having a red door is a bad thing. That's like the nightmare. So it's kind of like, in my opinion, God providing a blue door for us in on the nightmare. And I'll get into this more. Hazel Fiver actually has a lot of awesome videos on Nightmare on Elm Street and all the changes. So if you're interested in checking out more of these, I definitely recommend checking his channel. I think he has a whole playlist actually for Nightmare on Elm Street, and actually like the letter A was added to the title of Nightmare on Elm Street. Now it's a Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was always just Nightmare on Elm Street. And I think in the second movie they show the same house and it has the red door. And actually, I think I yeah, so you could even go to the house and it's got a red door. But in the movie it's got a blue door. And plus like this is like a horror movie, you know, from the early 80s. Like you're not going to have a blue door. Like a blue door isn't scary. You know, the red door is what's scary. And the reason it's scary is because we feel it on a psychological level, on like an instinctual level, because of the world script. That's just how this world is designed, where red is the door, you know, to the bottom essentially. And another example going the opposite direction is Lisa Simpson's saxophone in the intro segments to The Simpsons, back when it was hand drawn. So this obviously used to be like a brass colored saxophone. I was a huge fan of The Simpsons in the 90s. This is like completely ridiculous. Um, I'd never, so I've seen this intro, you know, hundreds of times, and I never saw this saxophone look like this with the violet coloring. And I think this is like a light blue, but it might be a light violet. I'm not sure. I think it's a light blue though, and it's also kind of grayish too. But that would be like the central pillar, and then the light blue again would be like that right path, the Christ path to God, and then violet would be like the top of the chakra ladder. So yeah, here I'm saying that here it's like the throat chakra color and the crown chakra color. So the name Lisa means devoted to God. Hey, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that, and thanks, guys. I haven't been keeping up with the chat, but I appreciate all you guys being here and contributing. Um, so I think this message from God is essentially, you know, keep speaking the truth. This is like the color of truth with your enlightened mind, which is what we've all been going through, at least, you know, us here. So here you can see this might be like a fan drawing, but you could see this is obviously what her saxophone used to look like. This is straight from the show. So in the show, and this is like an old episode, you know, her saxophone looks like an actual saxophone, but in the intro to the show, it has that violet coloring. Here's another example. So, you know, I mean, this show came out like late 80s, early 90s, like zero chance that they would have a violet saxophone. It's crazy. Um, Oh, okay, so this is just another thing that happened recently with, Putin and Trump. So, they got him and this is like they call this, limousine the beast, so he's inside the belly of the beast with the devil, essentially, the Antichrist character on the world stage, and they're walking the red carpet. So, this is why, like, all these famous people, these politicians, these, actors and people, this is why they walk on the red carpet because they're on the red path. So, this is the left pillar. They're all about the physical world, nothing spiritual unless it's, demonic. But, yeah, they're on the, left path. That's why they're always on these red carpets. Alright, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Sorry, there's a ton of stuff in this folder. I have to try to remember, why exactly. But so the Temple of Doom is our body. The Temple of Doom is essentially, the temple that's on the red path. The name Indiana means like star essentially. It's based on the Indus River in India, which means a star or like starry river. And then Jones is like the right pillar. And I'll get into that why it is. It's like the name John, but names like that represent the right pillar. And this is also a Mandela effect. It's really slight. I understand if people don't see it, but I saw these movies and posters a lot. And these letters were all on the same line. So it's like the I and the N are smaller, or the two A's are bigger, perhaps, and then this O here is, like, split. It's just very weird looking, closer, you could probably see it. Oops, sorry. Like, look at how strange like, this used to just be, like, a nice, arc. Like, the A's dip down or the I and the N go up too much, and then, like, these little indentations weren't here like this, and this O wasn't, split like this either. It's just, very strange. I don't know what that means, but it's definitely a change. And here's Indy with the sword. I'll explain that in a second. And this is another change too. Moneybags has a great video on this if you want to check it out. But Indiana Jones's hat, it's almost like a top hat now. Like it's still a fedora, of course. Like if it was a top hat, it would be too much of a change. That would be too ridiculous. Like the Mandela effect always it kind of rides that line so that people always have like an out to say like, oh, it's just the way the hat's always been or whatever. But like to me, this looks so silly. Like his hat wasn't this tall. It's like 2 or 3 inches too tall. So it's almost like saying he's got like a top hat now, in my opinion. Like look how tall this is. It looks so crazy. And sometimes with the angle, it's not really noticeable. But on all these images, it's noticeable to me. Like this Raiders of the Lost Ark cover, like it didn't go up that tall. So in the Temple of Doom, the first thing that they show us pretty much is this symbol that we've been seeing a lot of. So this is basically like the dome because this is ground level here, and this would be the North Pole Mountain, and then here we have the dragon, guarding the top of the mountain, but it's also like the plasma dragon. So this is like the kraken with all the little, offshoots and things. And it also starts in China. So yeah, I said it starts in China. So the reason why China comes up in a lot of these stories is because the name China, do I have that? Okay. It means essentially like the divine state or the central realm. So China is like a basically like saying the North Pole or like God's realm essentially. So that's why a lot of these stories start in China, and they often show like the CV characters or whatever represents the CV coming from China. Like I'll show you that with the Gremlins movie, which is also a Spielberg thing. Like even though Spielberg didn't like direct some of these things, he did direct this Indiana Jones movie, but he produces a lot of stuff too, and he's just like one of the top world scripters. Like him and like Stephen King and some people like that are just all over this stuff, just constant. So here we have the beginning of the story with vampire bats. So this is kind of like the COVID or the CV story. Sorry. My, I've noticed my stream gets like whenever I say anything that slightly triggers the YouTube, it gives me I'll just pause for a second, take a drink. Yeah, I can't say anything on this. My channel's on like a short leash. All right, so here in the Temple of Doom, this guy's like worshiping Kali, which is what they put on the Empire State Building during the Pan event, which is totally ridiculous. And he's pouring the black goo into Indy's mouth. So this is why the movie is the Temple of Doom, because the Temple of Doom is what happens when you have the black goo in your system. Sorry, one second. Yeah, so just explaining that here, the temple is our body and the doom is that. Oh, can you see it? Let me see. Sometimes my picture covers up what's in the images, but you can see a lot of this stuff in my previous videos too. So here we have this kid. He's like the emperor, but he was possessed by the black goo, and so he's now an imposter. And and it also turns people into what's called controlled puppets. Now, this puppet thing is a huge element of the world script, and I'll be getting more into that a little bit later in this presentation, but also in the future as well. And Indy has to basically fight off black magic while he's getting jabbed. So this kid has a voodoo doll of Indy, and he's stabbing it with a little knife, but it's like a needle also. So it's hard to see, but this is Indy holding his back and his neck because the kid is stabbing him there. So here you see it closer. So he's like holding this like needle. It's like a little knife, and he's stabbing the voodoo doll. And here's Indy getting stabbed by it. So now this villain here, he's got a red door on his head. That's not a coincidence. And it's the red and black basically. And in order for Indy to wake up from being a puppet, short round, the kid has to hit him with fire. So it's fire like the phoenix. He has to rise like the phoenix um, from this black goose situation. And then once he does, he has the sword. So this is like, the sword and the stone, the Excalibur, the blue beam, the central spear, and he's in the center of this bridge. And notice how like the bridge symbolism always comes up. And like if you look up the definitions for a bridge, it's really interesting because like a bridge is also like the control room on like a vessel or a ship or like a spaceship. Like on Star Trek, they go to the bridge. So that's like again like more third eye symbolism because that's the control room of our vessel essentially. So in the center, he basically takes a leap of faith with the sword, and then all the red and black, not all of them, but the red and black people fall. So you'll always see these people with the red and black, like zombies, possessed people. They're always falling because it's symbolic of spiritually falling. And now here's the ladder to the top, and they have to climb the ladder. This is like the chakra ladder to the top. And now here you have the red and black villains shooting arrows, which are like needles at Indy, and they're shooting all these arrows at him and missing. But now that he's awake, the needles aren't effective. So before, when he was asleep, the needles were effective. But now that he's awake and he rose like the phoenix, the needles aren't effective. And then they show the reinforcements that come to help him are the yellow and blue, which is like the Christ colors, the top of the central pillar colors. And the yellow and blue, or blue and yellow, whatever, they arrive at the end of the story to fight back and subdue the red and black. And then you know, this is the end of the movie. So the heroes succeed, and the red and black is all these, this is like the Kraken army of the dead, essentially, and they're defeated. So this is from my Tree of Life video. This just shows how you could put like pretty much all these concepts on the three pillars. I don't want to go through all of it, but you can pause the screen if you want or check out the video. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Oops. How do I do that? So just in case you want to see the whole screen. And I could be wrong about a couple of these things, but I don't think so, but it's possible. We're not going to agree on everything. So yeah, just like the endless names. Here would be like the dragon or the devil guarding the third eye area, essentially. And then at the bottom, you have the bottomless pit or the abyss. So like at the top, you have white, and this is representative of spiritual color or like spiritual light color. So when you mix all the colors in light in perfect harmony, you get white. And then, like we were talking about with the prism, Jesus takes that white light and he separates it into all the different beams of light so that we can, perceive what's going on and see the truth. And then at the bottom, you have black, which is the absence of light. And this would be the bottomless pit or the abyss. So when these two pillars merge, you essentially have the right pillar going to the center. So the green would be like the heart center, the red would go down toward the abyss, and then the advanced right pillar person would go up through the higher blue colors at the center. and the red would go down to the abyss. And then this is also the three pillars are also representative of trident of Neptune's trident. And here you see the trident, and here we're going to get into a lot of really interesting Mandela effects. So you can see with the trident, there's like the central spear. So this is like the blue beam spear that comes up through the center of the world. And on the left, you have the letter L, basically. And on the right, you have the letter J. And interestingly enough, oh, so this is like the Jesus pillar, and this is like the Lucifer pillar. And here you see Jesus equals 74, and Lucifer also equals 74, because Lucifer is like the evil twin of Jesus, essentially. So names like Jesse, Jack, John, Jane, Jean, JC, these denote like right pillar characters who are going to probably end up being, Christ-like. So we have, John Connor in Terminator. So he's got the John and the JC. And this is also directed by James Cameron, who's also a JC. And James Cameron is a huge, world scripter. So here we have Jesse, Pink Man, and Pink. I'm not 100% on these colors yet, but Pink, I assume, or I think, is basically the mixture of red and white. And yeah, Susie, like John Carter, also for sure. I haven't seen John Carter yet, so I'm not familiar with that, but that's definitely one of them. So I think pink is like the mixture of the red and white, like we were talking about with that fly agaric mushroom symbolism. So it's kind of like the good ladder of chaos going upward, in my opinion. So like, pink and light blue, they're like baby colors, pink for a girl and light blue for a boy. So those are like, good colors in my opinion. And of course, Jesse is like JC, and they even have him wearing a Jesus shirt in this scene. And it's like a black and white shirt. So here we have Jim Caviezel playing Jesus Christ. And he even did this when he was 33 years old, just like Jesus, and they even say that he got struck by lightning when he was on the cross, and like they try to tie like this resurrection thing into it, whether or not that really happened or not. They're putting that story out there, like like it's like world scripting of Jesus, essentially. And yeah, Ryan, definitely Jim Carrey too, and he's a Mandela effect as well because he has the extra R now in his last name. But yeah, Jim Carrey's a huge world script player with the JC for sure. That's why he's cast in certain roles. But this is also you can't really see it too well here, but his eyes are like orange now. I feel like this is a Mandela effect. Like maybe it's like Jesus with the eyes of fire, kind of like what we see at the end of I Pet Goat 2. But I saw this movie once in the theater, and I don't like, if you see, just like check out some scenes on YouTube or something. Like his eyes are like orange now. It's really strange. I think it's a Mandela effect. And this scene in particular is the one where he stops the people from stoning somebody. So it's at least in this scene. But yeah, I think that's a Mandela effect because that looks really strange to me. So here on the other side we have Lucy. So this is a movie starring Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett is like red, and Johansson. I think that's a Mandela effect too. I'm not 100% on that, but I think it was SEN, and now it's SON. But this is also like the son of John, so it's like the red right pillar essentially, or like the left pillar takeover kind of name. And Lucy is of course, Lucifer, the left pillar. And uh here you could see like black goo is this black goo rises up over her whole face, so she gets completely enveloped in black goo and then becomes like part of this like AI system at the end of the movie. So that's all, the path of the left pillar, like the red path or the red carpet. And here we have Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker, and he has a twin sister. So you would have Luke, the boy, over here, and Leia, the girl, over here. Um, and Mark Hamill, this is also a Mandela effect. This one I know 100% because I was a huge Star Wars fan. So his name only had 5 letters. I had never seen a last name like this, so it stood out to me with just the one L, but now he has 2 L's. Um, but yeah, just another example of Luke. Luke was also originally supposed to take Darth Vader's place, so he was going to end up being a bad guy. I think it's a better choice that they went with him being a good guy at the end, but they did want him to have an even darker, left path or left hand path, character arc. And this also isn't to say that we throw out our left path or our left pillar. We do need to incorporate the left pillar into ourselves to be a complete human, but you just don't want to be ruled by the left pillar or go down the left path. So here we have in the Batman movies, the Christopher Nolan movies, Lucius Fox. So Lucius, that's like the left pillar, and Fox equals 666 because F equals 6, O equals 15. So 1 plus 5 equals 6. And then X is 24. So 2 plus 4 equals 6. So then the word Fox, like Fox News, it's used often to be 666. Now he's a good character in this movie, but Batman is kind of like Spider-Man, where everything is inverted. So, Batman's the good guy, but he's actually the black left pillar, and then the Joker is the villain, but he's actually the white right pillar. And this character, even though he's kind of a good guy, he represents like the devil essentially in this movie because he's able to provide Bruce Wayne with anything he needs, from the physical world, all this like military equipment, and he even gives Bruce the all-seeing eye in the second movie where he has like that huge wall of phone screens. Whenever you see like all those cameras and things, that's the all-seeing eye. So the movie Die Hard was a complete ritual for this. So here you see the villain falling at the end of the movie. Here he's falling. This is Bruce Willis looking at his wallet, and inside his wallet, he has a message from his kids, and his kids are Lucy and John. So this is the left pillar and the right pillar. And then right after this scene, it's like literally like the next scene, they show this, um, which is reversed upside down, but it's the double September event essentially, but it's about the twin pillars because that's what this movie's all about. And the first scene in this movie actually is Bruce on a plane talking to some random guy, and the random guy says that he's been doing like his job for 9 years, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but then Bruce Willis says, "Well, I've been doing my job for 11 years." So there's like constant with the 9 and the 11 stuff in this movie. So now in real life, allegedly on the world stage, they bring up this Die Hard like magic spell essentially. So you could see this in my Tree of Life video. And other people have shown this video too, but this particular witness of this event, he says it was like something out of a Die Hard movie. So they're bringing up that Die Hard movie again because it's all like the way their black magic works. One of the ways is through repetition. That's why you see the same actors doing the same type of roles. That's why they're constantly bringing up Die Hard in this event, and they're constantly bringing up like Bodysnatcher type stuff, which I'll get into. It's all about repetition. And this is another witness to this event, and he says it was like a Die Hard movie too. So it's not just one guy saying that. And there were other people too saying it was like a movie, but those particular two guys literally said Die Hard. And then you have this guy who's my favorite. I think a lot of people's favorites. He's known as Harley Guy, if you want to look that up. But here he's doing the 666 hand sign, and he basically knows the whole world script about this event. Right after it happened, and he's telling the guy, the buildings fell from structural failure, due to the intense heat of the fires, and they fell into ground zero and all this nonsense. So like this guy's, very obviously, a plant from the world stagers, whoever these, synagogue of Satan people are. So here we have the cover of Die Hard. Now this is just one building, but if you look at it from far away, like let me see, it looks like twin pillars. And then of course have the left eye symbolism. This is the eye of destruction or the Lucifer pillar. And you have like flying vehicles going into it, so it's all symbolism of that. And obviously this movie came out, way before it happened because it's, predictive programming, of course. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that they have these batteries called diehards either, because the twin pillars essentially act like a battery. And I'll explain that a little bit too here, and I've explained it too in previous videos. So here, essentially you have the Lucy black pillar on the left and the John white pillar on the right, and they fall because the twin pillars have to be destroyed in order for the central pillar to rise up, like the phoenix from the ashes. So there are a lot of Mandela effects that um, pertain to these two naming conventions, and this is actually how I, figured it out in the first place, was from the Mandela effect. That's why I say, the Mandela effect is pointing out and revealing the world script to us, because that's what it did for me. I understand that people could disagree with that, but so we have Johnny Quest. The H was taken out of his name, so it's just Jonny. And I'm not going to get into why letters come and go in this stream. I'm just going to show you guys all these examples of right pillar and left pillar names that are affected in the Mandela effect. So this is like the right pillar quest, essentially, the quest to be more Christ-like and get closer to God. Then we have Johnny Walker, alcohol or whiskey, and Johnny Walker was definitely spelled NY at the end, but now it's NIE. And interestingly enough, their bottles, they go from red and black at the bottom, and then they have, I think it's like green, gold, and silver in the middle. Blue is their the blue label is the highest level Johnny Walker that you can get. So it actually follows this chakra ladder that I've been talking about, and it's it's like walking the path of John, or the right hand path. And here we have John Deere. So John Deere used to be spelled just like the word deer, like the animal, but now it has an extra E at the end. And the colors are primarily green and yellow, which are the central colors, and green would be like the right pillar. We also have Jack in the Box. This particular logo is all merged together. If you look at it, it looks totally crazy. There's no way this would ever have been their logo. So you have they're all merged together pretty much, but you have the C going directly into the K. You have the H and the E totally merged into the word the. Hey, Donut, good to see you, man. It's good to see everyone in chat. Sorry if I missed any comments. Um, so you have the whenever the H and the E and the are merged together, that's like a 100% Mandela effect. Nobody would ever do this. And then the O and the X, this is almost like the Vesica Pisces, or like the Jesus fish type of symbolism, but I'll get into that a little bit later and in future streams. But this is merged together, of course, and you have this is the red and white coloring that we've been talking about too. The color of these logos matters too. I think that's partly why they changed. So we're like, the Jack in the Box, essentially, where, I guess you could think of the box as like the dome, or the enclosure that we're in. But I'm not 100% sure on the cube and the box symbolism yet. Um, but the red and the white, like we were talking about, this is like the chakra ladder up, hopefully, getting out of the box, because the Jack in the Box does, spring out of the box with like a spiral, spring going up. So this one's big. I don't know if anyone's even talked about this. I don't even remember where I heard it, frankly. But in GI Joe, the main female character, her name was Lady Jane, and of course Jane is a right pillar name, but now she's Lady J. And I was like GI Joe and Transformers were like my two biggest things when I was a little kid. So there's no chance. Like it's always like GI Joe and GI Jane. She was Lady Jane. There's only like about three or four female characters in the show. So yeah, this is like a 100% Mandela effect. Um, Lady J, like it wasn't Lady J. It's just a chance on that one. I'm going to show you some things from Toy Story. Now, this I think also is a Mandela effect. Hazel Fiver has a lot of good videos on the Toy Story changes. I don't remember this. I wasn't like a big Toy Story fan. I did see the first Toy Story, but I don't remember ever seeing this like patch here. So this is interesting, and it of course has a lot going on. You got like the central beam, like the Saturn. This is kind of like the central beam shooting through the apex dome, essentially, and um, there's a lot going on. I don't want to get too off on a tangent. But so I should say the character Jane in Toy Story, and Woody also, like just like picture what they look like in your head. So now Jane has these white and black cowboy pants, or like chaps. So that was never a thing. I've never seen this until the Mandela effect. This looks very strange to me. And Woody has it also. So, I mean, I don't think too many people talk about these Mandela effects, but, like, this is, like, 0 chance that it was just, like, a tan vest. It wasn't, like, a cow print, so that's a big change, and, of course, her name is Jane, so I just wanted to, bring that up. It just shows in, X-Men now the X, symbol, that's a representative of the North Pole, so then you have the Phoenix, this is the Phoenix character. Gray represents the central pillar because it's the union of black and white, the left and right pillar, and then her name is, Jean Grey. So they don't just pick these names at random. So here you see the X. When you see an X in a circle like this, like, the X-Files, this is representative of, like, the bullseye at the North Pole, and, Xavier's, school for the X-Men, this is like, the castle at the North Pole, and Xavier's like the god character, essentially. And the name Xavier means new house or castle. And here we see it again. You have like the X in like the concentric circles again for the North Pole. And notice how, well, it's at, you have the gray again here too, but it's at Salem Center. So I think that, the original Jerusalem is the center of the world, and Salem is kind of like short for that. And what's really interesting is this book by Stephen King called Salem's Lot. It now has this apostrophe in front of the S. And I was talking about this with a friend of mine, Nathan Sanders, who's also another awesome Mandela effect speaker. And his first thought was this is probably short for like Jerusalem, because this isn't the way it used to be. This is a message from God. So the book obviously was just Salem's Lot with nothing in front of the S. But now it's like, hey, there's something, truncated off of the front. So it's like Jerusalem's Lot. You got the LO and the T all merged together here. And then this is, like the central village, like the Garden of Eden, essentially. So here's another look at it. You can see that this now has the apostrophes in front of the S everywhere. Like this just looks so like if you can't tell this is a Mandela effect, man, I don't know what to tell you. And here's just a few other renditions of it with the apostrophe in the front. It's not just a one-off. So now this is the movie Salem's Lot, and it changed in a different way, interestingly enough. So it doesn't have the apostrophe in front of the S, but it does have like this L that went way down below the E and the M and merged into this T, and like the L down here under the O. Like there's no way it was like this. It was just, it did have like this font with the lines, but it just went, Salem's Lot. Like it wasn't all merged together like this. So yeah, Salem is generally like about witches and things like that. So but I think God is also pointing out that it relates to Jerusalem. So because like the North Pole goes back and forth, right now the North Pole is being run by evil, but soon it's going to be run by good. So this is another Mandela effect relating to Jane, and Mary. Likely is like the central mountain as well, um, like the Mother Mary, the like for Mount Meru, essentially. So this song by Tom Petty used to be "Last Dance with Mary Jane," and now it's Mary Jane's Last Dance. And the word dance comes up a lot in these changes too. And one thing that happens a lot with the Mandela effect is the system, when it finds out about a change, it puts something out to confuse people who are trying to research it. So recently, it looks like Snoop Dogg came out with a song called "Last Dance with Mary Jane," and it's obviously about like marijuana and stuff. But I think that the reason they put this song out was that so now there's like this confusion. So if you search for "Last Dance with Mary Jane," you get this Snoop Dogg song. So um, I'll show you some examples of that too in this presentation. So just like so if the system or if the evil side of things were doing the Mandela effect, then why would they want to confuse the subject like this? So why do they want to cover it up and have people have trouble researching it and all that? So this is another change involving this band Jesus Jones. Interesting too, this random tape. I just picked this random image, but it's called Big in Alaska, and Alaska is often used to represent the North Pole, like Siberia and Greenland and those Arctic areas. So this song right here, right now, I know that this is 100% change for me, because he used to say, "Right here, right now, there's no other place I'd rather be." But now it's, "There's no other place I wanna be." And I just know, like, this song played a lot, in stores and in commercials and just all over the place, and, it was always, like, a catchy song to me, so I specifically remember him saying, "There's no other place I'd rather be." And of course, this is by Jesus Jones. So this is Jesus, of course, and then the right pillar. And this, to me, this is a change from God, from Jesus, essentially saying, right here, right now, there's no other place he wants to be, because this is, like, if you really think about this, like, it's really beyond explanation, not beyond explanation, but beyond, like, words. Like, think of the importance of what what I'm saying here, and you could disagree, that's fine, but if I'm right, I think I'm right, I mean, this is Jesus saying, right here, right now, there's no other place he wants to be. This is the most important time. We should all feel, even though this is a tough time to be alive, it's a privilege to be alive at this time, because we're the people that are going to be, um essentially, taking over this world after this huge reset happens. We're the ones Jesus is raising up to become more enlightened and more powerful, essentially, to be able to, live in this, like, magical world that we're about to be entering soon. And Jesus is excited about it. I mean, I feel like I've been given the, some leniency to speak, for these changes in some way. If it feels uncomfortable to, like, talk for God, obviously, but um that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm putting out. So, here we have another example of, the name Jane. So this is 11 from, Stranger Things. She's also called Elle, which is the name for God, and, her real name is Jane, though, so that's not a coincidence either. They could have called her anything. And here we have the song, "Johnny Be Good." This is another Mandela effect, because the name was just Good without the E at the end. So it's, similar to other changes we've seen where, like, an E gets added on to the end of a word. I showed one recently. It's hard to keep all this stuff in my head, but, what was the one? Let me see. What was the change I showed where there was an E added to the end? Yeah, Jane's Addiction, that's another one too. Oh, John Deere, that's what it was. So yeah, anyway, this, song, "Johnny Be Good," now has an E at the end, and of course, this is, like, the right pillar, be good and all that. But good is also, like, a subjective term, in certain ways. Of course, good and evil isn't subjective in my opinion, but, like, the left pillar people, they thought they were being good and doing a good thing by, masking up their kids and filling them with black goo and all that. Like, they thought they were, good. So good could be a subjective term too, I'm just saying. So here we have Miss Jackson. This is like the son of Jack, the right pillar, essentially. And this line here is, it used to be, "I apologized 1,000 times," but now it's, "I apologized 1,000,000,000,000 times." So that's a change for me. I remember it being 1,000 times. And I think Moneybags has a good video on this one too. So in Thor, Natalie Portman, she's a huge world stage actress, and her name is Jane in these Thor movies. And Thor is essentially a Christ figure, so it's like, Jesus with his wife, essentially Jane, because we're like the brides of Christ, the people of the right pillar. And here we have JC Penny. So this is another change where an E was added, and this definitely used to be like this. JC Penny, just like the word penny. This is like a crazy one to me. Like, I don't know how people can't see this one. This looks like so ridiculous to me. Like going into a mall and seeing this with the extra E, like, no way. Here, this is just some random thing I found on that Google search. This is like some college foundation where JC Penny, has, like, you know, they donated money to this, fund or whatever, and they spell it with the E here, but for some reason they use this logo without the E. So, like, somebody probably made this logo just based on their memory, because it can't be an official logo or else it would have changed. So here's another one too. Elvis is a huge Antichrist figure, of course, and when he was born, he was actually born as a twin, and his twin's name was Jesse. So Elvis would be like the left Lucifer pillar, and then Jesse would be like the right, Jesus pillar. And this twin Jesse died at birth, so they have like his gravestone. So, whether or not this really happened, maybe they even, sacrificed the kid, I don't wanna, like, say all that. Like, I don't know what happened, obviously. But in terms of symbolism, this is like a left pillar takeover. This is the left pillar essentially killing the right pillar, in the womb, really. So this is like a really intense example, honestly. And, like, Elvis is huge. Elvis and Trump, they're, like, the 2 most famous people, pretty much ever in our recent history, in the last, 100 years. So Dark Tower, the main character is Jake Chambers, JC. And I've mentioned Dark Tower before. It's all about the central tower at the North Pole. So here, going to the left pillar now, this is a Mandela effect where Darth Vader said, Luke. So I saw this movie like a bunch. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I used to know this line 100%. So Vader said, "No, Luke, I am your father." That was what the line was for me. Now he just says, "No, I am your father." So the word or the name Luke was taken out. So if this is a message from God, then God is saying, he's not the father of the left pillar. But it could also be God just telling us like no, like KNOW, no, I am your father. And I think Jacobians talked about this. I think I got that from him, but it's a really interesting take on it. We also have the line from I Love Lucy. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Everyone knows that that was a saying from I Love Lucy. You could find residue of it all over the place. I've put it in previous videos of mine. I'm sure all the big Mandela effect channels have tons of residue of it. I've seen it. I have my own, folder of it. Um, but yeah, so now Lucy, you got some splaining to do was never said. So I think that relates to the left pillar also. Perhaps God doesn't want to hear the left pillar people's explanation anymore. It's that they're cut off or whatever. There's a few ways you can look at that. So in this Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown movie, there's actually a few Mandela effects. And one of them is Lucy, the character Lucy. She used to have a like a purple or like a dark blue hat, but now it's a red hat. So Lucy, representing the left pillar, now has a red hat instead of a higher chakra color level hat. Here's another one from Cool Hand Luke. Luke for the left pillar. So this guy's like the head, prison warden type of guy, and the line he used to say was, "What we have here is a failure to communicate." Um, that's like, yeah, so that's a line that's quoted a lot. I've talked about this in one of my previous videos. There's some residue examples of him saying that. It's an iconic line, another one, and communication is a huge aspect of the world script because in our third eye, the crystals are basically going to be tuned to the Christ spirit or the Antichrist spirit, and that's who we communicate with. So, people who can't tell that the Mandela effect is a supernatural phenomenon, especially after seeing all these examples and evidences and all that, they're communicating likely with the left pillar. That's not too late. It's not too late until the last day. Um, but I just find it hard to believe that there's people who are still saying that this isn't really happening if they've actually seen some of this evidence. I mean, it's overwhelming, really. So, if you're one of those people, I would suggest just forgetting everything you know about the Mandela effect and maybe just trying a fresh start and just seeing how, like, look at those channels that I talked about in the beginning of the stream and just going from there and just start from scratch. Because, no offense or anything, but you're wrong and you're missing literal miracles that are happening in front of us all the time, all over the place. Like like this is literally what a miracle is. It's something that's supernatural and it's above our physical world. It's the editing of our physical world to send us all these messages. So now this phrase is what we've got here is failure to communicate. So it went from, what we have here is a failure to communicate to what we've got here is failure to communicate. Um, so this is interesting too. So this I assume it's pronounced lucha because this is from Italian. I don't know if you guys know about this, but the Vatican made like an anime character mascot recently, and they named the mascot Lucha, like after Lucifer. So this is like what the mascot looks like, and of course it has the yellow and blue and white coloring. So this is like the imposter colors. So like when you see yellow and blue, it doesn't necessarily mean something good. It could be an imposter. You have to use your own discernment, and vice versa. You could see a good character or something wearing red and black, but they might need to infiltrate, the negative side in order to accomplish their mission or whatever it is. So you have to use your own discernment on these things. But obviously, the name Lucha, it's ridiculous for the Vatican. And they also have, of course, this Lucifer telescope in Arizona, I think, and you can research that on your own if you like. In the show Fallout, they have the main character is named Lucy, and they have her also in the not just the yellow and blue outfit, but also the 33. So this is also like imposter coloring. I don't know where this character is going to lead. My assumption is that she's going to be like a villain, but I don't know. I'm not saying that. So here's another look at the Lucifer telescope. I did see the first season of Fallout, and actually, I played a couple of the games too. They're actually really awesome games, and there's a lot of world script stuff going on in those games too. So also the missing link for the ridiculous, evolution stuff. The missing link is named Lucy. So they know what they're doing with these names. And this is also a huge Mandela effect here with Jean-Luc Picard. Now he has a crystal in over 70 episodes of Star Trek. And one of my good friends is like a huge Star Trek fan, and he's never heard of this. He's never seen this. I've seen people online who are huge Star Trek fans, and they've never seen this or heard of this. And it's interesting seeing some people talk about it online because these people have watched like these Star Trek episodes over and over again, and they've never seen this crystal that Picard here he's holding it. He holds it in a lot of episodes, and it's in, like I said, over 70 episodes. So what this is the crystal represents, it could represent two things. It could be the heart, but it also, in my opinion, represents the third eye. Either way, it's on the central pillar. Um, Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, I think it's okay enough. So here, his name is Jean, so that's the right pillar. Then Luke, which is the left pillar, and then Picard. And the name Picard means spear. And whenever you see a name like Spear, like Britney Spears, the name Gary, I think means spear. There's a lot of names that have like a spear influence. Oh, Roger is a huge name, like a nickname for God, because it means famous spearman. So you'll see the name Roger come up in a lot of Mandela effects and like world stage stuff because of that. Because the spear represents this central pillar, and of course, the whole trident could be thought of as like a three-pronged spear, of course. And then the crystal, you get the ultimate clear white crystal when you have the full when you become like a complete human with all three pillars. So here he is again, like holding the crystal. So it's this is ridiculous. I mean, I wasn't a huge Star Trek fan, but I never saw this or heard about this. So this is the movie Arrival. Here, this ship essentially represents the Black Mountain, Rupus Nigra, at the center of the world, and these two characters. Well, these two characters are named. It's a right pillar and left pillar name. I think I say it here in the future, but so here we have Rupus Nigra. You got the mist. You got the Greenland. So this is the North Pole, and it's also like an egg. You'll often see egg symbolism, like in Under the Dome, and it's like a cocoon as well. But I'll get into that in the future. So in this movie, they also give these people like a booster, and they say it's a kick to their system. So there's a lot of like V stuff going on, of course. And also at the top of this tower, or whatever you want to think of it as, at the top of this mountain or space vessel, is the Kraken aliens. They live up here at the top, like usual, like at the top of the Lego movie tower, at the top of the Black Tower in the movie Venom, that's where the Kraken exists, although it comes down when the Armageddon event happens. And you'll often see portals going from light to dark and dark to light. So they're getting pushed up into this space vessel like a giant needle. And see here they're going up to the top. And this is very similar to this, false light needle symbolism on the Economist cover. I mean, this is like so outrageous that they did this. Like these people, like really, like if you just sit back and think about this, like it literally is like an army of demoniacs. It's like a satanic troupe of actors that will just stop at nothing to lie to us 24 hours a day and to get us to take this black goo into us before the last day. So here you see Louise and Ian. The name Ian is John, essentially. So they represent the left and right pillar together, and they're speaking with this Kraken entity, aliens. And here you can see that. And they're talking, and they speak in black goo, and they basically make inverted black goo eclipses. And I won't get too into the eclipse here, but that's often paired with the black goo. So here's another John related um, Mandela effect. So now this actually isn't a Mandela effect for me, but I do have a weird memory of this. So like I've always known this place as Johns Hopkins, but I have like this weird memory of when I was a little kid talking about how it was weird that it was Johns Hopkins. So there is a possibility of something that's going on here where we update to the new way sometimes. And some people are more prone to these updates than others, but it seems like pretty much everyone has at least a couple updates. And those updates usually come with some kind of weird, like strong memory. So like one of my strongest memories as a kid is like thinking about this. Like that's just weird. Like so I think this probably is a Mandela effect. And if you look at the guy who founded this place, his name now was Johns. Like his first name was Johns. So that's just weird. Like his name was very likely John. But anyway, this university, it's all about twins, and this would be like twin Johns, essentially, twin right pillars. And you have like the blue and white symbolism too with the logo. So yeah, and you can research this on your own. This is Johns Hopkins. It's very strange. His name was Johns. So yeah, so like I was saying, how the system always wants us to get confused about this when we try to research the Mandela effect. So Johns Hopkins, during an April Fool's prank, dropped the S on their name because people were saying, why is your name Johns? Why isn't it John Hopkins? Like I remember it being John Hopkins. So they for April Fools, they made it John Hopkins for a day. And they just do that. So now if you look this up, you get this nonsense, and then it becomes confusing to search for it. And same thing here. And here it's even weird because they cross out the S in Hopkins. And it's just, anything they can do to confuse the search results. And it's like the same thing here with Skechers. And this is something that Brian Stavely talked about a bunch. And it was really funny the way he put it. But they hired Mr. T to put the T in Skechers or back in Skechers or something. Excuse me for a second. So this Skechers one is a 100% with a T. Like it's just so ridiculous that it doesn't have the T now. And then the fact that they hired Mr. T to put the T in Skechers, this is all just to confuse, the search algorithm. So when you look up, why doesn't Skechers have a T in it? Now you get all this Mr. T BS. And here you have like some guy dressed up as Mr. T saying, bring back the T in Skechers. Like this is like so ridiculous. And it's because that this company had so many people tweeting at them and stuff like that saying, why is your name spelled wrong now? Things like that. And it's because of the Mandela effect. These companies have to go through all this. And Fruit of the Loom is another one that has that they have like this whole character of like a cornucopia on like their Twitter or X page where the cornucopia is like trying to get into their logo again or for the first time or something. Like it's really like there's a lot of changes that have this. And like even like C3PO. So C3PO obviously has like the silver leg now in the original Star Wars is. So in the new Star Wars, The Force Awakens that came out I think in 2016, they gave C3PO a red arm. So now if you look up like C3PO not being all gold, and now you get like, he's got like a red arm and all this, like, so they make it confusing on purpose. And that's why some people have trouble researching this. So also this guy Ben Carson, he was famous for working at Johns Hopkins, and he was all about like twins. And then he was also when he was running for president, he was putting it out there that there was two Donald Trumps, so it's like twin Trumps and all that. And there's a lot going on there, and there obviously are multiple Trumps. These world leaders, they have like body doubles and stuff, but they're also doing some weird stuff, especially with Biden and Trump, where there seems to be like literally multiple people playing the role in the official capacity, not just like going to some sporting event or something. Um, Carson saying there's two Trumps. So this is like the doctor known for his work with twins and like separating conjoined twins at Johns Hopkins, which is a Mandela effect, and he's talking about there being two different Trumps. Like, so this is very strange, world stage stuff going on here with the twin thing is obviously a huge deal, and it obviously relates to the twin pillars. So going back to the twin pillars, we got the sun and the moon. Let's see. Oh, so here the word twin, just so you could see it, it equals 66. I don't know if I have it in this presentation, but this is why in Star Wars they execute Order 66. Like some people think it's just being lazy because they didn't want to say 666, so they just say 66. But it's actually because of this, because what that order did was the clone army who seemed like they were good guys were instantly taken over by their left pillar or their evil twin side, and they became evil, pawns, or like you know the spiritually dead army of the Kraken army of the emperor and all that. But it's essentially the 66 order was their left pillar taking over their body, like what happens with the V, I think, and anyone who's aligned with the Antichrist side of things. And yeah, Smokey Gator, the Minnesota Twins, that's a huge thing too. And that's where I can't really say his name. I'll say George, and then the next name is Floyd. But that's why that event happened in the Twin Cities. And he was also known as a twin of a person who was like a basketball player named Steven Jackson. So they were like throwing around the twin stuff. So it's like they were showing like the death of the black twin essentially in the Twin Cities, and he couldn't breathe, and not being able to breathe is a huge element of the world script also. Like the communication thing is huge, like breathing is also a huge issue. So and I'm actually going to show you a lot of that coming up here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it all though. So Isaiah 11:6 is another huge Mandela effect. It used to say the lion shall lay with the lamb, but now it says the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb. And there's other translations where you could have a slightly different reading, but none of them are going to say lion and the lamb. And this is 11:6, which is essentially 66, because this is about the twin pillars. So the wolf dwelling with the lamb, that means the left pillar and the right pillar are merging together at the center, in my opinion. I'm not going to get too into the other stuff, but I think that's what's going on there. And this also, interestingly enough, was a incremental Mandela effect change. So if you were paying attention and you were, caring about the Mandela effect and researching it, you could have seen reality change in front of your eyes. And I've seen this happen over 50 times, and I'll show you stuff like that in the future. But essentially this was a King James only change, and the other Bible versions didn't have um, the wolf. But then incrementally, all the versions of the Bible had the wolf. So you could have watched all the different versions have that. And there's a guy who used to be on Brian Staveley's channel. His name is Steve, and he was a fireman. Um, Cleveland Steve. And Cleveland Steve, I've heard him tell this story a couple times where when the Isaiah 11:6 change happened in the King James version of the Bible, he bought like three other versions of the Bible that still had the lion and the lamb. And then over a couple of weeks or months, those versions that he had in his physical possession changed to the wolf and the lamb. And I know that that's real because I've had it happen. Unfortunately didn't watch this one happen. I kind of did, but I wasn't like super paying attention to it because my Bible wasn't a King James either, and it didn't have this either. But I wasn't like super into the Mandela effect at the time, but I did watch it change. But since then, I have seen many things change in my physical possession. So but I'll save that for a future stream. So this is a painting. I looked up the person who made this because I've shown this before. It's Tomaz Alan Copera, and I just think this is like a great representation because this is like the left male pillar, and this is like the right female pillar, and the left pillar takeover would be the wolf killing the lamb, and then you essentially have the wolf in sheep's clothing over here, or the imposter. So you have like two wolves, and the way the right pillar wins, because the right pillar obviously isn't a murderer like the left pillar is, so the right pillar wins by being more spiritually light and powerful than the left pillar. So you essentially beat the left pillar with kindness, and then you have like the 33, ascension up. All right, so going back to the twin pillars, and there. So this is another one, like, I don't know if I want to get too into this. Yeah, I kind of want to go through this. I mean, this is like where you get the eclipse. This is where you get the Vesica Pisces. So when these pillars merge at the center, you get the Vesica Pisces right here. So the Vesica Pisces would be like this. This is also like the Jesus symbol with the fish, because Christ is at the central pillar. You either take the blue cross up with the Christ, spiritual power, or you take the Antichrist, red cross down to the abyss. And when you see a symbol like this, it doesn't necessarily mean a crescent moon. It could mean like an almost eclipse type of symbol. And then this would be like, the eclipse at the center. Um, okay, show that, through that. So this is just an example of how they use the Vesica Pisces in our world all the time, pretty much. This is the company Chanel. Now, interestingly enough, the name Chanel, it means a water pipe or a canal. So you have the fire pillar and the ice pillar, and when they merge, it makes water. So this is the water canal. This is also the feminine symbol. And this is also like the waterfall that you see at the North Pole. Like whenever there's like a North Pole mountain, there's usually a waterfall. So like the waterfall, because water goes down, and then Jesus walks above the water. So we have to go above the water and rise above that. And the abyss is below. So if you sink in the water and you go down into the abyss, and the Kraken also is the being that, or the concept or whatever. And I think it will be a physical thing at some point when Armageddon happens, but it will like drag, like it literally like drags people down, like the tentacles wrap around the people and it drags them down to the abyss. And that's what that symbolism is all about. Um, there was something else I was going to say too. Oh, so at the waterfall, you often will see like a waterfall where people have to face like their shadow selves or something like that. So like they'll look into the waterfall and see like a reflection, or they have to like walk through the waterfall. There's a lot of symbolism like that, but that just means that they're basically being tested at the central pillar. So here in the Barbie movie, she's got this Chanel bag, which it has the Vesica Pisces. Now they didn't just give her this bag because it's stylish. They gave her this bag because this whole movie is about the masculine invasion into the feminine world, which is what's happening here. And she's trying to stop it. Interestingly enough, too, they got like this rainbow spiked ball here in the background, but she's like, trying to make like a truce essentially, and get like feminine control back into the world. So here in Back to the Future, this is of course all about worlds merging, and you'll see when characters use binoculars, this is often a good excuse for them to use this Vesica Pisces symbolism. So here's Marty from a different, timeline or a different world, and he's looking at this other world in the past. So this is the Vesica Pisces symbol with the binoculars, and here's like the Neptune symbolism. They're dancing at this dance. So there's like a lot going on. Of course, the people who made Back to the Future know all this symbolism, and Back to the Future is also a huge Mandela effect heavy movie. It's got like about 10 changes in it. So here in the movie Mother, Darren Aronofsky, the director of this, he's another huge world script director. Um, Now this is Jennifer Lawrence, and she's alone in the house, and she basically represents like Mother Earth in this movie. And when she looks outside, the door is open, and she sees this Vesica Pisces symbol, and it's because there's a male home invader in her house. And here he is, and he's got the red door. It's kind of hard to see, but he has blood on his forehead. So basically, I don't want to get too into it, but this movie is about the biblical stories playing out and like the history of the world. So this is actually Cain after he killed Abel. So that's why he has the blood on his forehead. But it's all about the male and female worlds merging, essentially. So here we have in Naruto. This is taking place in Naruto's head, and this guy is essentially the god figure. There's a little nuance to that, but he's essentially the god figure. And when he appears in Naruto's head to give him guidance and some powers at the end of the series because he needs them, and that's essentially what is happening with us right now. Like Jesus is essentially entering our head and through our third eye crystals, and is giving us this Holy Spirit information and boost in spiritual awareness and discernment and just overall spiritual power. So here you can see they're on water, and this is the Vesica Pisces, basically between heaven and earth. So there's two different ways, and I think I show this too in the future. But you have like the right to left pillars Vesica Pisces, but you also have the up and down Vesica Pisces, which is like heaven merging with earth, and that's also like the blue beam shooting through the apex dome in the physical world. And it's like this Under Armour logo too. And here in the show Fringe, they're and this is by the people who made Lost also. They're showing these worlds merging because the villain has a device that creates like a window or like a gateway between two different worlds. So when the worlds merge, they show these two like bubbles merge together. And there's the Vesica Pisces. And here he is using the device, and this is like a city street. So this like portal opening is to another world. So this truck comes out of the other world, and then the portal window closes, so the truck gets like split in half. But just to show that it's like two worlds merging essentially. And they also in the show Fringe, the character Nina, she shows the main character what's happening with the two worlds. So she shows these two snow globes. And I'm just saying here, when you see like, twin domes, twin cities, twin pillars, twin worlds, it's all the same symbolism. So here they are. And then she shows the two smashing together. So this is like the Vesica Pisces, and then only one world remains after. And this is also the glass breaking of the firmament, and she calls it or I think she Leonard Nimoy is like her boss, and his name is William Bell. So there's like the bell symbolism. I don't want to get too into that right now, but that's there's relationship to the dome in our head and all that. And she says that he calls this merging of the two worlds the last great storm. And the storm comes up constantly in these world script things because you have the right ice pillar and the left fire pillar merging together. So these two, like like in real life, a storm is created when there's like this temperature imbalance in the atmosphere. So that's why you always see like these major events happening during storms. This I just kind of noticed randomly, but Arthur C. Clarke, he's the co-creator of 2001: Space Odyssey, so he knows what's going on here with all this symbolism. This is like all these different worlds merging in Vesica Pisces and things, and wheels within wheels again. And he also made this Fountains of Paradise book here, so you could see on Fountains of Paradise, you got like the North Pole Mountain, and this is like some kind of astronaut. But if you look at it in another way, it's like a blooming flower, basically. And I'll show you why that's important too, because like the flower blooms at the top of the mountain. This is like the top chakra color colors, and then you have like the two blue beams going up. This looks just like the so 2001, that relates to the towers coming down and then putting up these two blue lights like I was showing you. So it's all related like that. Okay. I got a lot to show, so I might start going through this a little faster. So we had these two eclipses that happened. I was kind of thinking that something would happen last summer, because of these two eclipses, but it seemed like nothing really did. But they weren't separated by 7 years, like a lot of people say. They were separated by 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days. So big time 666 symbolism with the two eclipses. Um, Hot Wheels. This is a common Mandela effect where the T loses one of its crossbars, essentially. So now it's only pointing to the right. And in my opinion, these are the Hot Wheels. Like with this CERN logo, you could see the 666, but it's also two eclipses and the Vesica Pisces. And the same thing with this World Economic Forum. It does make a 666, like people have pointed out, but it also, this is like an eclipse when you see like this kind of thick banded, circular symbolism. So just I'll take a drink break here for a second, but just think about these logos. So if any of these are familiar with you guys, I wouldn't have known Bergdorf Goodman, but I definitely saw Bloomingdale's a lot, and Mead notebooks. I had a bunch of Mead notebooks when I was in school, the black and white notebooks. So this is just a shot from one of my previous videos. So here we have the Washington Monument, and it's in. This is basically representative of the blue beam at the North Pole. A lot of people just kind of say it's a phallic symbol and stop there. Now the blue beam is technically like a phallic symbol, but it has like a feminine energy to it, and then the kraken is like a female symbol, but it has the male energy. Um, but this is, they're not just going to make this giant thing just because of a phallic symbol. Like this is because of the blue beam at the North Pole with the pyramid at the top. You got the concentric circles representing the North Pole, and then it's inside of a Vesica Pisces because the two pillars merge at the North Pole, and then the blue beam shoots up from the center. So here we have Bloomingdale's. The O's merged in Bloomingdale's to make the Vesica Pisces, and the same thing with Bergdorf Goodman, and a bunch of other changes too. Like here you see Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. So like think about the symbolism. So for people who think that like the Mandela effect isn't like sending us messages, I mean, come on, like Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Like come on, this is the garden of good and evil at this central point in the North Pole. Bloomingdale's is like I was showing you, like the flower, like the blooming flower, the lotus flower that blooms in the center, like an I pet goat too, essentially. Bergdorf means the village on the mountain. Goodman, Mead. Mead, if you look it up, it's short for meadow, like the gardens. This is the black and white garden at the center, and the letters are all merged together. Like this was not like this. The M goes right into the E like this. That's so crazy looking. This just used to be like a normal M. And Logan's Run, I've talked about this in a previous stream, maybe the last stream. And the G is merged into the A like this. It's very strange. And the word Logan, it means little cave. So the little cave is the little cave inside of our head. It's the pineal gland, it's the third eye. So if the A represents the capstone, third eye essentially, and if G represents God, then it's like when we go into our little, when we run to the little cave, God merges with us. It's pretty intense. And yeah, I don't want to get too into Gorillas in the Mist right now, but you can see actually here, you can see the H and the E merge together. So this is like the official hardcover book for Gorillas in the Mist. You can look this up on your own. Diane is also a right pillar name usually because Diane is like Artemis, which is like the moon. Uh, the mist is also representative of the North Pole because when you have like the worlds merging, you have the storm, which provides the mist, like in the storm, and it's also like a mystery. It's a mysterious island, and like if you look at the L under the A, there's a lot going on. I don't want to get too into that right now. So here's iPet Go 2 with the apple splitting. This is like the twin pillars. This is our twin eyes. The Bible often references apples and eyes together, the apple of the eye. And merging in the center, which would be the central eye, is the blooming lotus flower. So this is like Bloomingdale's. And a dale is like a valley. So like the valley is in like, so like the central mountain is going to split. It's known as like the split mountain. And that's why the Bible says the Mount of Olives will split. So in that valley blooms the lotus, and that's why Obama is worried about this because he's like the Antichrist or one of the Antichrists. And he doesn't want our spiritual evolution to be happening, or at least some of us. So here's like Captain America. He's got a lot going on. His name's actually Steve Rogers. The name Steve means crown, and the name Roger means famous spearman. So it's like the crowned blue beam essentially. And he also emerges from a cocoon as a superhero, and he's got the A over his third eye. So a lot of titles and logos and things have merged together. So this is a movie that most people probably haven't heard of, but it's called The Perils of Gwendolyn. This is a real movie. I actually have this, and it's another one of the movies that changed it in my possession. So you have the H merging in with the E to the R, the long R. This is what I've been showing you guys a lot, where the R's have extended legs. The L goes right into the S. The N and the D are like one word. So this is just like some B movie that hardly anyone saw. They wouldn't make the logo like this with all the letters merged together. It's crazy. It's impossible. And the name Gwendolyn means fair, blessed, and white ring. So it's like the perils of, and like notice the colors, the blue and everything, and you got the perils of the fair, blessed white ring. And the ring, I don't want to get too into it, but it's like the marriage ring, the wedding ring. So here's the actual VHS tape of it. You can check this out for yourself, but like this is, whenever you see like an H, and whenever you see like two letters merged like this, that's a telltale sign that it's a Mandela effect. Nobody would ever do that. But interestingly enough, some current things would do this, because that's another way that they confuse the Mandela effect. Like there are a lot of logos nowadays that have these types of mergings, and they have like the A's without the crossbars, so they look like the lambda or like the mountain symbol, because they're mimicking what the Mandela effect has done to try to confuse the subject again. So here's a lot of merged, logos that all represent, like, I mean, you could pause this and just see the symbolism for yourself. Same thing here. And this is all in previous videos I've made. This book was shown to me by the Holy Spirit, in my opinion, because I wasn't even searching for books and it just appeared on my screen. And this is a book for about Richard Nixon. So like look at this like merging, and it's all about, I gave them a sword. So this is God saying I gave them a sword. You have the A leaning to the right, like A's will often be leaning either to the left or the right now. So this is like a positive thing in my opinion, where it's going to the right. Again with the Jack in the Box, this is absurd looking. So if either of these logos are big to you, the Fight Club poster or WrestleMania, you might want to pause the screen. So here, Fight Club. This is all merged together. This is 100%. It was not like this. It looks so crazy. You also have the B like weirdly merged into the U. Um, this almost looks like it even got crazier after I put this picture in here. Like I don't remember like this H like sticking. I don't know. It's definitely a Mandela effect, and it's definitely merged together. I can tell you that much. WrestleMania has like this R and this S connection. It's very strange. And I think these other things too are different too. Like the E's kind of have this backwards point, and the A's are like split here. This is weird, but definitely the R and the S. That's crazy. And wrestling too, World Wrestling. This is like an old Nintendo game. So like the R doesn't have its bar here. It's kind of like that After Earth poster, and E's being split into three bars, kind of like the three pillars. That's another common pattern of the Mandela effect too. These are all about like fighting, which is also like dancing. You'll often see like fights called dances. It's the same thing. It's about like the fight between the two pillars, essentially. So Columbia House logo. Yeah, Nate. Yeah, the Fight Club logo looks crazy now. There's no way it was like that. So yeah, Columbia has these are. I'm not gonna like do this for all these logos, but I just figured some people might want to take a moment to think about some of them beforehand, and I like point out the ones that I think are the most interesting or noticeable. So like Columbia House, it's got the blue and the white for the Columbia coloring, and the C wasn't on the O like this and merged into the H, and the I and the A wasn't like this. Century 21, the E wasn't like this. Huffy is really interesting. Like this looks crazy. Look at this like first F. It's like merged directly into the U. Like there's just no chance. This is kind of like the symbolism, and they got like the cracked egg, interestingly enough. And I think I get into bikes here. Yeah, so I learned this from 88 Finis Temporis channel. That bikes represent the eclipse essentially, because you have like a person traveling, or like just traveling going a direction on a vehicle with two twin circles. So of course these don't like merge together like an eclipse, but you'll often see these in movies representing the eclipse. You see the twin circles, like Donnie Darko has this, and this also takes place in 1988, which is a huge year for a lot of things, like 88 in Back to the Future. So here's Donnie on the bike. Back to the Future, of course. So, like, whenever you see a bike, there's often like a bike like hang up on walls too, like just to show you that bike symbolism. So that's just like eclipse symbolism essentially. This is the giver. The characters all start off on these bikes because their worlds are about to change. And this is interesting too. So you have this bike. It's known as a penny farthing because of the size reference with like coins. But this, when you see this type of a bike, like in the show The Prisoner, and I've seen it other places too, this represents the Saturn Jupiter conjunction because they're not the same size. So this would be like Saturn, this would be Jupiter, and this is what they look like in the sky when they conjoin. And we actually had this happen in 2020, and that's exactly when the V came out. So, and that's also the Star of Bethlehem. So, if that's doesn't mean anything to you, then we're just on different pages because this is huge symbolism for why they put the V out at that time. So village people, again, like it's like the village on the mountain merging together. Like the E into the O here is very strange. You'll see a lot of LA merges. Ordinary heroes. This like it's like we're like the ordinary heroes, just like a bunch of ordinary people who are rising up to be the heroes of the world, essentially. So another big thing with this village people is this guy. A lot of people don't remember this army man. I don't like. I wasn't like a village people fan, but I did see them. They were like all over the place, and I never saw this guy. So this guy's name is Alex Briley, and his brother Jonathan. I won't really. So he worked at the Windows on the World, which was the North Tower. So the North Tower is the left tower. So he's essentially the, you know, black falling man from the North Tower from the event. And they literally say he was speculated to be the falling man. So again, with that falling symbolism, he's like the brother of the sixth, new member of the village people. So this is really intense symbolism. The Mandela effect altering our not just our reality, but historical events to show us this symbolism. So again, these all merged. So we have the game because this is like a game of chess. Training day. The R and the A here are merged strangely, and this is like we're being trained essentially, and this is like a 100% for me because I actually had a few of these when I was a kid. This was not merged together like this, so it's like the player's strategy guide, which I could basically say is like the Mandela effect. It's like a strategy guide for understanding the world. Um, but yeah, this just 100% was not merged together like that. All these letters were separated and easily readable. So some more logos here. We got the Oakley Lift, TJ Maxx, Orion, and Soul Train. So here's Oakley sunglasses. Now Oakley means a meadow of like oak trees. So again, this is like the black and white Garden of Eden. Mead is like meadow, black and white Garden of Eden. Lee also means meadow. These are merged together. And lift, it's like elevating up. And this is kind of like that fly-agaric coloring too. And the F and the T were not merged together. In fact, I don't know if I have it, but Lyft, I think, came out with a new logo where the F and the T aren't merged anymore. So it's like Jack in the Box, where like some of these companies literally have to rebrand themselves or come out with new logos because the Mandela effect changes their logo to such a crazy degree that it's like unreadable. So cream of wheat, you got some merging here with like the extended R, E and A. So like this is like the wheat and the tares, like the cream of the crop type of thing. Um, WD-40 is merged together, and this is like you got the blue and the yellow symbolism, and WD stands for water displacement. Like I was saying before, it's like separating from the water, rising above the water of the central pillar. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Rogers is like the famous spearman, the blue beam. So all these R's merged together in this logo like this. You got the triple R. And we can, speculate as to why exactly some of these things are happening, but it's too much to get into right now. And Midas is like the golden touch. So you have the A and the S merged together here. Drakkar Noir, this is like Black Dragon, Black and Decker. Meet the Parents, this is interesting. So this is merged together for me. I mean, it wasn't like this Why would you have the M just like merged right into the P like this? That so it's like meet the parents, it's like meet at the central pillar, people are going to be meeting God or the devil, whoever your father is. And the secret garden, again with the garden symbolism merged at the center. TJ Maxx, these two X's weren't merged together. I'm not 100% sure on this one really, but X is symbolic of the North Pole, so it's also kind of like a double cross symbolism going on here. Orion, the R and I were not merged together like this. United Van Lines, this is an interesting one because it's got the blue, white, and yellow like Columbia coloring, and it's united. Like so, like it's like we're uniting at the top of the central pillar. God's people. Because God's the one who is doing this. And then Showtime. This is again with the fly agaric coloring, and this is like an eclipse. It also kind of looks like an eye with like the iris, and the WT and I are merged in Showtime. Now, in my opinion, God can merge whatever he wants. So, the M and the E could have been merged together, or the uh what I mean, the U and the N could have been merged together. So like I think it's important as to what exactly these letters are that are merged, because they're when we get eventually to like a future live stream where we talk about these specific letters and what they mean, like the original like glyphs and all that. um I think it'll become more apparent why certain letters merged in certain logos. And Soul Train, of course, soul is a huge pattern of the Mandela effect. You got like, the Jewel song, Who Will Save Your Souls? And there's a ton of soul changes. I'll show you guys that too. But this is a huge, obvious Mandela effect. Like if you can't tell that Soul Train is changed, I mean, there's zero chance they would ever design the logo like this. You can't read it. It's like illegible. So yeah, this is a 100% change. So this is a website, if you're not familiar with it, called Logopedia. There's other websites too, and other ways to research these things. You can check out the official records of all these, because all these logos are like trademarked and copyrighted and stuff. So you can research this on your own, however much you want. But they've always been like this. So like my whole life, this TJ Maxx logo was like this, and I actually had a TJ Maxx pretty close to my house, like within like a mile. So I saw it like all the time, and it was not like this. 100% was not like this. Jack in the Box, this logo where it was merged together, both of these since '77, and then I guess, yeah. So they changed it to this. So they had to rebrand because this logo is so crazy looking. And like I don't know if these people get like a call from somebody saying you got to change your logo, or how it works exactly, but I think a lot of big company logo changes happen because of the Mandela effect. Same with Oakley. It was like this insane merge from 1975. Like zero chance, guys. There's no way it was like that. The A going directly into the O and directly into the K. No way. Mead was always like this. 1973. No way. Lyft was like that from the beginning. Oh, and here, see, like it looks like they redesigned it because this looks crazy. It looks like Lya, like Lya. Although I don't think that's the message, but it could be. I mean, that's another interpretation for sure. But I think it's more important that the F and the T merge together. So here, Columbia House. This logo was always like that. So here's a bunch of other changes. Let's see, Mizuno. So here you have the U and the N merged together, and Moneybags has a really good video on Mizuno. And Mizuno means water field. So this is the water field at the center. These logo mergings are all about the merging at the center. So everything merges at the center of the world. The twin pillars merge at the North Pole, and heaven and earth merge at the North Pole. And the center is water, the water field. And the labyrinth, this refers to the maze. I don't want to get too into the maze symbolism right now. I'm already probably gonna not be able to get through all this. Um, but yeah, and here's like fire and ice merged together. You could like obviously pause the screen whenever you want, or check out my previous videos if you want to see more information about certain things. And another big 2-into-1 change is this dollar sign, the US dollar sign. So it used to look like this, with the twin pillars here on this poster. This has got a lot of North Pole symbolism going on too on this poster. This movie's called Head Office. Um, excuse me. Uh, so here you have like Time Magazine with the dollar sign. You know, they don't know what a dollar sign looks like. The Economist doesn't know what a dollar sign looks like. But this is the way a dollar sign looks like now. So the twin pillars merged into one pillar. And this guy was a huge wrestler. He was like one of the most famous wrestlers. He was Ted DiBiase, the Million Dollar Man. So the Million Dollar Man doesn't know what a dollar sign looks like. Like, do you really think that that's possible? And here's another outfit, just to show it's not just one outfit. Here he is, like walking to the ring with this giant dollar sign on his back. This isn't the United States dollar sign has never looked like this, according to the way the world is right now. So, you know, do you really think the Million Dollar Man doesn't know? I mean, come on. And there's, you know, you could find endless residue for this dollar sign. All right, so going back to these three pillars. Uh, okay, so this is from the Truman Show. I think I just wanted to point out that. Um, oh, okay. So he's afraid of this dog in the beginning of the movie, and it's the white and black dog named Pluto, because he's not ready to rise up this chakra ladder yet. He has to, you know, discover some things about his world and about himself first before he can do this. So he starts off afraid of this area. That's essentially what's going on here. Whenever you see like black and white, it's the central pillar, and it's also the floor of the center, essentially. Like, I'll show you in the future if I get to it, like the blood on the dance floor type of symbolism, where you have like the red on the black and white. Then it probably comes up in Twin Peaks, actually. So David Lynch, of course, knows all about this symbolism, and him and Stanley Kubrick were huge on this whole twin pillar, left pillar takeover type of stuff. I'll probably do like some kind of special on them or something. So the first lines of this new Twin Pillar or Twin Peaks show is the giant. He's also known as the fireman. He says, "It is in our house now." So it refers to the Kraken. It's like the clown and it. It, you know, it came from outer space. It came from, you know, there's a lot of movies where it's like it came from places, but it's generally referring to this, you know, Kraken entity. And even I don't have it here, but actually in the Adams Family, there's cousin it, and cousin it now has two T's. It's no longer it. It's another big Mandela effect that relates to this, because I think it's like the double cross essentially. So he's saying it is in our house now. Our house is our temple. So he's saying the Kraken is in our house essentially. So here they're talking about having two Coopers. This is the main character of the show, is Agent Cooper, and they put the 666 right over him because he essentially has had a left pillar takeover. Um, I don't want to get too into this right now. It's just so much. So they show the two Coopers in this mirror. So here they are, like separating and coming together. So this is like the good Cooper. This is the evil Cooper. And at the end of the first show, the evil Cooper took over Cooper's body. So they're basically saying that there's two Coopers, they're spiritual twins, but only one is allowed in the physical body. And that's what I think is essentially happening with us. We're either going to be ruled by our right pillar or our left pillar when this is all over, which I think it's almost all over. So at Twin Peaks, you got the symbolism of the Twin Peaks under the dome. This is like the twin pillars. It's also like the split mountain under the dome. So here's in the first series, this character is possessed by the Bob character, who's essentially the Antichrist. So he's looking in the mirror, and here you have like the twin pillars also. And they're like the crumbled, you know, twin pillars. So he's an imposter, and the word imposter is also a Mandela effect, because now the main spelling for imposter is with an O, and I've never seen that. And here in his reflection, he sees, you know, this is like the left pillar takeover essentially. So in order to get to the Black Lodge, this is like a black goo eclipse portal, which is a bad thing essentially. So you have like the red over the black and white, and this area is called Glastonbury Grove, which is really important. So here they're trying to figure out what's going on, and this is Cooper, and Cooper says it's about King Arthur, because King Arthur is allegedly buried at Glastonbury. So here again, they're talking about King Arthur in Twin Peaks, and there's zero chance that David Lynch doesn't know all about this King Arthur, Excalibur, Sword in the Stone symbolism and all that. And he's basically a Christ figure. So here he's in the Black Lodge and he's being chased by his doppelganger or his imposter. And here you have the red over the black and white. This is essentially the what they say, like the blood on the dance floor. This is like the blood sacrifice, essentially. So he loses. It's a very negative message. So this awesome character loses in the Black Lodge, essentially, and when he returns to reality, he's an imposter now, and he's standing in front of a mirror here, and he smashes his head into the mirror, and here you can see he's possessed by this Bob, Antichrist devil character again, and this is like the mirror breaking, the glass firmament breaking. And the word doppelganger is also a Mandela effect. It used to be LE, now it's EL. And he has the red door on his forehead. I kind of like faded out here, but you could see the red door. So when you have this red door, it means you're an imposter, essentially. You've been taken over by your left pillar. We want a blue door, which is like what God gave us in the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which I showed earlier in the stream, if you're just tuning in. So this is in the new series. This is Diane again, which is like the right pillar character, like Artemis for the moon and the feminine. And she's talking to this Cooper, and she can tell that he's not the same Cooper he used to be. So it's like a body snatcher thing. So like body snatching comes up in like almost all these world script movies and TV shows and stuff. So that's that. So yeah, he failed. He replaced by. Oh, so she asks him to see if he was the same person. She asks him, "Where was the last time we met?" So he says, "Your house." So the reason he says we met in your house is because she is also an imposter. So he's saying we met in your house because the Antichrist has taken over both of these characters, and they're both imposters. And when she's revealed that she's an imposter, she walks by this chandelier that looks just like kraken tentacles over her left shoulder, and she's like a controlled puppet, like we were talking about before. So she's being puppeted by this like antichrist spirit. And notice how she has like the imposter colors, and she also has like the twin dragon symbolism. So like, David Lynch, he's like Stanley Kubrick. He's not just gonna he didn't just like dress her in this wig and costume for nothing. This is all specifically planned, and he like gets mad if anything happens to where it's not going exactly the way that he wants the set design and the costume wardrobe and all that to be, because it's all very carefully planned out. So she has this purse, which is essentially like the three pillars we've been talking about, and since she's an imposter, it's like the red pillar takeover. So like you have the blue and yellow central pillar, and then the red and black has taken over both sides. So this is, if you know about this symbolism, this is a clue that she was an imposter the whole time. I don't know when they introduced this purse, but it's a clue, at whenever this purse was introduced, that she's an imposter. So here's another scene in Twin Peaks where this just shows how much David Lynch loves all this same symbolism. So this is Laura Palmer's mother, and this is Hawk, the deputy. So he came to check on her because some people reported that she was acting strangely because she's also an imposter. So he asks if there's someone in the house because he hears some noises in her house. And she looks over and she's like, "No, everything's fine." But there's actually nobody in her house, but there's someone in her house because she's been, possessed or taken over by the Antichrist entity or spirit also. And then later they reveal this. David Lynch is a weird, filmmaker, so this is going to be pretty weird. But this guy is like harassing her at a bar, so she like takes her face off essentially to reveal who she really is. And these black needles shoot out of her, and it's also kind of like a tongue sticking out, like so this is like a mixture of the black needle and the Kali with the tongue sticking out symbolism. Then they show a hand with a black ring finger. This is like the spiritual finger, and David Lynch actually even talks about how this is the spiritual finger previously in the show. And then this is the smile, which comes up a lot too. This is actually taken from a portrait of her daughter, but he just left the black smile. It's very creepy, obviously, but it's to show that she's possessed by the Antichrist, essentially. So here's Natalie Portman in another one of these world script movies called Annihilation. The word annihilation used to just have one N, but now it has two N's. Here I say that here. So they're investigating this crocodile creature that um, everything is kind of getting like mutated inside of like this dome area. And so it's like us inside the dome, and they're saying that this crocodile has been mixed with shark DNA. So the shark is like the CV stuff, like I talked about in previous live stream. I think it's like the third live stream where I mentioned all the shark connections. But they're basically saying that shark DNA is making giant waves in the gene pool. So that's like CV altering our genes. And then what the system wants to do is put a black jacket over that CV so that they stop, God's evolution and instead do the inverse Antichrist evolution of people. So she's walking to this phallic lighthouse, which is like the I Pet Goat 2 symbolism. She's like a mirror walk over the water too. So this is all like central pillar symbolism. And you can see how this lighthouse with the tentacles on the left side, it looks very much like this lighthouse in I Pet Goat 2. And this is the masculine pillar, essentially, at least the left half in this case. So she, instead of going up to the top of the lighthouse, um, she goes down to yeah, donut. Yeah, this movie is pretty awesome actually, and the music is awesome. This is a really cool movie, and it's got a ton of world script symbolism in it. So instead of going up the spiral staircase to the top of the lighthouse, she descends into the bottom left of the lighthouse, and this is like the central mountain essentially. So she is descending under the mountain, and under the mountain she sees this creature being created from a drop of her blood essentially. And it starts with these spiked balls, and then it starts to resemble a human shape, but it's like Pinhead with all these needles sticking out of it. And there's like these black tentacles that are moving all over the walls. So this is like the Kraken, of course. And then this, when this being, becomes, you know, a human shape, she shoots it because it's, evil feeling, I guess. And the bullets don't work on it, but the bullets shoot through it, and it creates eight tentacles essentially, just like an octopus, like the Kraken. So this is the alien Kraken. It's also the imposter twin that's going to take her over. So she's about to have a left pillar takeover because she went to the bottom left of the mountain. So she tries to escape the lighthouse through this green and blue door, but this door is now shut for her. She can't get out because the alien twin stops her, and she has a red door. She has this blood on her forehead now. So this alien twin mirrors her and becomes her doppelganger. And here's the red door symbolism. And then it takes her over and it burns the house down. And then her husband, he was an alien Kraken imposter from the start of the story, and now she is also an alien Kraken imposter. So again, this is like the Bodysnatchers symbolism. So Natalie Portman, like a huge, world script symbolism. And this is also a movie by Darren Aronofsky, again, who's the guy who made Mother and a bunch of other movies like Noah and The Fountain. So she's this ballerina who's fighting with Mila Kunis over this particular role that they want to play. And she smashes her into this mirror. So this is the right and left pillar, basically the same person, smashes her into the mirror like we saw with like Twin Peaks, and then she looks down and it's herself. This was Mila Kunis, but now it's her, and she wakes up and starts choking her. So this is like the I can't breathe symbolism. This is the left pillar essentially killing the right pillar by making it unable to breathe. So she's choking her out, and this is another. This is a big music video by The Weeknd. And The Weeknd, a lot of these music videos have, huge amounts of symbolism in them too, of course. So this particular start to the music video is about the twin pillars. So both these people are The Weeknd, and this is like his right pillar. It's more light colored, and this is his left pillar with the fire. And with like a normie watching this thinks that it's just because The Weeknd has like a new look and he's like killing his old self and becoming his new self, and that is kind of true. But what this really is it's a left pillar takeover. So this left pillar gets up and he goes over and he puts a bag over the right pillar's head. It's pretty violent, and he kills him. So the left pillar kills the right pillar, like I was saying, like having like two wolves. And then right after he kills his right pillar, he finds this red cross. So this is the Antichrist cross. The blue cross would be the Christ's cross. and then he pulls it off the wall and he's dragging it upside down because the red cross is upside down because it points down to the abyss. And this is also the mirror symbolism. And then he uses the red cross to destroy his house because the red pillar is the pillar of destruction. The left pillar is the pillar of destruction. The right pillar is the pillar of preservation. And that doesn't necessarily mean good and evil either, because you could have a bad person who's wanting to preserve, like, a 1984 society or something bad. And you could also have a good person who's a destroyer character, like it's like a typical like anti-hero, type of thing. So it's not necessarily good and bad, but in this case, this is the pillar of destruction, the red cross, the left pillar takeover. He's destroying his house. Here he does the devil horns. This is of course, like allegiance to like Satan or the Kraken, but it's also like the apex dome symbolism, because the apex dome is like the inverted dome that like the Vesica Pisces at the top of the world essentially. And here he's breaking the glass with the red Antichrist pillar, and then he burns his house down. He throws like a lighter behind him. And now he does have the upward cross here, but this is he takes this mask off, and this is like how he presents himself to the world. So he's like an imposter essentially, because we already know that he's ruled by his left pillar, like the red cross. And another example, I showed this in the previous video, I think one of the previous videos, is this Mr. X episode on The Simpsons. So it's all about this, and they're saying The Simpsons on V's, and basically Homer starts this website where he makes up news, and one of the pieces of news that he makes up is that they're controlling our minds with these V's. And this was actually, even though he made it up, it was correct. So he got kidnapped and brought to a secret island where he was essentially like a prisoner. And this episode is like an homage or something like that to the show The Prisoner. It's just like it. So this is where Flanders is reading about the V's, and his kids, have the flu. So he's saying they're making fun of them. He's like, oh, I better not get the V's for my kids, but this actually is the right decision. But since this is made by evil people, they, make it like a joke to not get the V. So here's Homer on the island. This is like the show The Prisoner, and they're trying to get him to take all these V's and ice cream. And this is like even what they did with normies. Where you got like a free donut or a free hamburger or something with your V. Like it's really just it's so crazy. And this came out in the year 2000. So the makers of The Simpsons obviously knew this was all coming, or at least Matt Groening. So in this episode, the reason why I wanted to bring this up again, because I talked about this before, but Homer has an imposter. So while he was taken away on this island to be a prisoner, they put an imposter in his place to be him in his in his house essentially. So then the two fight, and this is the guy who's like overseeing the whole operation. So this is the real Homer, and this is the imposter, and he's going to try to kill him. So he chokes him. So this is just like what we saw with the left pillar trying to strangle the right pillar and kill it, like in Black Swan and in the Weekend video. It's all the same symbolism with the I can't breathe between the twins. So he's choking him. But eventually Homer actually wins this fight, and they're all laughing at the end of the episode, like it's all an adventure that's over. But here the dog is actually an imposter too. And this is something that's going to come up a lot too, because dog is the inverse of God. So dogs are often shown as imposters in these movies as well. And then the dog, since it's an imposter, it like shoots, or it gives it like sends out this sleeping gas, so it puts him to sleep. That's the point of this. So the prisoner is all about, in this episode, it's all about putting people to sleep constantly, which is like spiritual sleep. And then the whole family falls asleep, and they wind up on the prisoner island at the end of the show. Susie. Oh, my name is Mark. So here's X-Men. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here's X-Men Apocalypse. Whenever you see a movie with like Apocalypse or like Thor Ragnarok, those types of movies, they're going to be heavy with the world script symbolism. So here we have like, the Kraken overseeing things like outside of the dome, essentially. There's a lot going on in this poster, of course. So here's the Xavier character I talked about before. He's got kind of like this light violet color because he's like the God character, or you could say like the Christ character. And he's with this other character who's Jean Grey, the Phoenix. And they're the ones that essentially have to, you know, come out on top of this whole apocalyptic event. So he's deciding to go into his own house, into his temple, to fight the Kraken, essentially. So they show you him going into his head through the right eye, because the right eye is the right pillar, or the Christ pillar. So you go into his right eye, and he's in like this, bluish space in his head, and because his powers are like telepathic, so he's fighting the Kraken inside of his own head. And they show this house being built while he's fighting the Kraken, and they have like the twin pillars going up with the staircase and the central gate and all that. And this is essentially like, Christ versus Antichrist, which is, most of these movies and most of these stories. And he's got like all these tentacles and things on the outside of his uniform thing. Um, but he's unable to beat the Kraken, so he needs like a little help from his friends, which he gets, and which is also another big Mandela effect message, which I think I'll get into, because this Beatles song has changed. So the Kraken, see like the tentacles. The So the Kraken grabs his hand, and Xavier says, "You're in my house now," and he goes to punch him, and then the Kraken grabs his hand, and he goes, "You'll need a bigger house." But this is all about having a bigger temple, having a bigger boat, a bigger vessel. And this also relates to like the change in like Jaws. Like, we're going to need a bigger boat, you're going to need a bigger boat, all that, with like the Jaws character in Moonraker that we talked about, with the bigger third eye vessel. It's all the same symbolism. So we see the world script symbolism matches the Mandela effect symbolism. And here's the Beatles song, with a little help from my friends. So essentially we're receiving music from the North Pole Mountain, like a signal from the North Pole Mountain. So this is, in my opinion, God saying, what would you think if I sang out of tune? This always was, what would you do if I sang out of tune? And you could even see the Beatles singing "Do" in live performances. And but this now is, what would you think if I sang out of tune? And then it's would you stand up and walk out of me? So like, I think a lot of these, it's not just like the one lyric that changed. You can look into all these lyrics. And where does it say? Okay, well, I get by with a little help from my friends. So this is like the blue beam. I think the blue beam like needs what we're doing right now to help it, in order to build its energy, so that it could shoot up from the North Pole. And that's the, Christ's energy. And he says, I'm going to try with a little help from my friends. And at some point he says, I get high with a little, yeah. So I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Now, of course, you could think of that in like a drug sense. You could also think of that in like a higher spirituality sense, but you could also think of that in a blue beam sense. So you have the blue beam charging up under the North Pole Mountain, and it's going to get high up in the sky through the dome with help from his friends. And there's a lot of messages about us being Jesus's friends. Like it's really powerful. I mean, like, if you really like sit back and think about it, like outside of this live stream, like it'll make you cry, like thinking about these messages. Like God is literally saying that we're his friends, and we're helping to change the world, essentially, with what we're doing by spreading the truth, because that's what's going to shoot the blue beam up. So the Wonder Years, the this show opened with a uh what do you call it? A cover song of with a little help from my friends. So if you listen to the intro of this TV show, it still says, "What would you do if I sang out of tune?" All right. So in the Matrix Revolutions, I've talked about this poster before. Okay, so this isn't the well, it is, but Smith has a tie clip now that's part of his outfit, and he definitely did not have this. Especially when you see all the Smiths together, it looks crazy. Like, this was just a black tie, and this was like at the start of CG uh, being used on such a massive scale, like to have this giant like Smith fight. So they made the characters simple on purpose. That's why they wore sunglasses, like, so they wouldn't have to worry about animating the eyes and all that. And it was just like a black tie. Like putting this adds like a whole different element to the CG, so that they wouldn't even have done this on a it wouldn't have made sense to do this, from a pragmatic, standpoint. And plus, I saw the Matrix movies a bunch of times, and I never saw this clip, and it's so obvious in certain scenes. So what I think that means is he essentially represents the negative left pillar. He's the one who's cloning people, taking them over. He's like the left pillar takeover character, and he is essentially creating a Kraken army of spiritually dead people who have all had the left pillar take them over. And so the left pillar is the negative pillar, and the right pillar is the positive pillar. And I'll explain that a little further here soon. So this is a movie. So there's a movie called Batteries Not Included, but there was a sequel called Batteries Still Not Included, which I vaguely remember. This isn't like 100%er for me, but a lot of people do remember this movie, and you can look it up too. I think Moneybags has a video on this. Some people have videos on this too, outside of Moneybags. But this movie never existed now because batteries aren't included because the battery is the left and right pillar, and the left and right pillar are being destroyed right now. They're merging into one pillar, so the battery is not included. And you essentially have the left pillar anode negative and the right pillar cathode positive. And this is like the male invasion, like I was saying, like with the Barbie movie, it's like a masculine invasion into the other side. This is why like Smith, invades people's space with like the black goo when he takes them over. It's a left pillar invasion. This is the body snatcher invasion. Like the right pillar doesn't invade the left pillar, the right pillar beats the left pillar with spiritual brightness. But the left pillar obviously can't do that to the right pillar. It wants to kill and invade and take over the right pillar. So here you see like the two pillars merging like this with the black and white left pillar, right pillar, and the black and white central Vesica Pisces. But it's like the black invading the white essentially. So there's two different cells like this, the galvanic and the electrolytic. So the galvanic cell is is a battery, and like in the Matrix, they even show the battery. I don't have a shot of that, I don't think, but I've shown it before too. But I mean, everyone knows that where Morpheus holds up the battery. But that's again saying that this is about the twin pillars. It's turning a person into a battery, at the beginning of the series. Um, so this just, if you want to read into this, I don't want to get too into it, but it just shows why the left pillar is the cathode and why the right pillar is the anode. Um, and this is the electrolytic cell. The electrolytic cell is more like what's happening on the Earth itself with the ocean waters and all that. But I don't want to get too into that either. So here's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is the first one that came out in 1956. Um, so interestingly enough, they're trying to figure out what's going on here because this person is like a pod person on the table, and these posters, they got like literally this is Black Mirror in French, Mirror Noir. So they're already showing this Black Mirror symbolism with the body snatchers back in 1956. And then this is White Cat. It also might be another movie called Black Cat, White Cat. But either way, it's about the cat, and the cats are symbolic of the central pillar, in my opinion, because their eyes are like Vesica Pisces shaped, and that's the same thing with lizards too. They have the Vesica Pisces eyes also. And this poster is Femme Fatale, which is like the 666, which is like the evil twin takeover also, and it's like deadly female essentially. Here you can see the better, and also what's in this room too. This looks a lot like the wheels within wheels, Ezekiel wheel symbol. So here's a book called Cat's Eyes, which I think has been merged. Like this, the C into the A, like, this is too over the top, and then these other letters are likely merged together too. But here you can see this is like the Vesica Pisces. See, that looks too crazy. But it's not like I saw this book before the Mandela effect. I was just shown this. So here in the Body Snatchers movie, whenever you see like a tree all by its lonesome on like an island, this represents the world tree, and this, of course, is like the pyramid, the triangle, all that. It's also the delta shape, which is like a door, But they're going to have a meeting of all the body snatched people, essentially at the North Pole under the world tree, and here's all the pods. These are the two main characters, and here they're organizing to bring these pods all around to collect as many people as they possibly can. So these are essentially the V. So here's Gremlins, another Spielberg, starts in Chinatown, and it came out in 1984 too. This is another Mandela effect here because this used to be Spike, but now it's Stripe. Let me just get a drink for a second. All right, so his name is now Stripe, which is ridiculous. Now people will say that it's because he has like this stripe, not the way it was for several reasons. For one, this kid, spiked hair was a big thing, so that it was all about him being spiked. And actually, I don't even know if I remember this being so like white and poofy. Like I think it was more like actual spikes. But I'm not 100% on what he used to look like. But his name was definitely Spike. And because Spike is also scary, like the name Stripe is not scary at all. And here you can see a ton of examples. So these people are selling a magnet with the name Spike. They made this like extremely realistic replica of Spike. This person made and here you see like the hair isn't the same; it's more like spikes. Um, but this person drew this intricate Spike, sketch, and it's called Spike from Gremlins. This character was never named Spike. It's always been Stripe. But the Spike is a huge thing. It's like this, the Spike ball, of course, the V, Antichrist version of the Spike ball. Gizmo and Spike, even though it says Stripe right here, the person wrote Spike, where people will write a different thing than the thing that is shown because when they wrote it, it actually said Spike, or they're just used to seeing Spike. But the Mandela effect didn't change their typing; it just changed the character name. And then here, this person, bought this whole Spike, knickknack thing, and he's saying, Gremlins, Spike Nook from pop culture, whatever, and he's hashtag Spike, like so. This person's like this huge Gremlins fan who bought this thing, and they don't know what the character's name is. It's called Strike. So you can find like endless examples of residue for most of these T-shirt, Gizmo and Spike canvas print. His name is Stripe now. Uh, hey, Jonan, good to see you, man. Or is it Yonan? Not sure how to pronounce your name, but it's good to see you too, man. Happy Friday. They introduced this character, Spike, or it's now Stripe. It blows his nose, and this is to associate this character or these gremlins with sickness. And this happens in Gremlins too. Also, like, why would they have the character blow his nose? So then, when the gremlins are going from the Mogwai to the gremlins, they're in these cocoon pods, and this is like the Body Snatcher pods. And if you think it's a stretch to say this is like a Body Snatcher movie, they literally watch that 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie on TV. So here's like the main character, the other woman, and like they're watching it. So like this is Spielberg saying like this movie um, is another Body Snatcher movie. That's what this is all about. It's just presented in a different way. And there's tons of needle symbolism. At the end, this is Spike shooting a needle at the main character, Billy Peltzer, and he shoots him in the arm. So here's like a needle. So here you have like the V'd, like the essentially the essentially the V shooting the main character in the arm with a needle. And then here's Gremlins 2 poster. I talked about this before, the 33 symbolism. We also have the 9 and then the 1 1. It's like 1 and 1. And then this looks like a building falling down, like one of the towers falling down into ash. The 911 stuff is like all over these movies too. Like I showed it in previous live streams where like the microphones have a 9 and an 11 and stuff like that. And in this movie, they watch another. Uh, this one is Octoman or Attack of the, and it's a Kraken person. So like the first movie, they watch a Body Snatchers movie, and in the second movie, they watch a Kraken movie. That's not a coincidence. And this they have a Dracula character. They often work like Dracula and or vampires into these too, because the vampire fangs are like the needles also, and there's other symbolism too, of course, with that. So here's like Gremlin giving a black goo shot to another Gremlin. Here's like the Trump character with like the all-seeing eye cameras. Um, I've talked about this too. I think in the second live stream, if you want to see more on that. Here's these twin actors are also in Terminator 2, and I'll show that too coming up if I get to it. We're already over 2 hours here. I'll see what I can do. But they're saying, are they reptiles? No, they don't laugh. What are they? Oh, they're this word. So again, in the first movie, you have a gremlin sneezing and blowing his nose, and in this movie, they just straight up call them this word. So then here's like the black goo dripping, and it's for the brain to take over, to body snatch people's brains, basically. And then this actor, he also is known for playing Dracula, and he's carrying around this pod that looks like a body snatcher pod. So here, this poster is really crazy. If you want to check it out, it's this is for Invasion of the Body Snatchers for 1978 with Donald Sutherland, and I mean, there's just so much going on here. This is like the Apex Dome spiral storm with the. It's kind of like an inversion with the blue beam. There's a lot, and this is like what the Karens looked like when somebody wasn't wearing a mask, in 2020 or 2021, because they're these people could just be triggered at any time to act like this. So this movie is all about needles too. Um, this is known as actually the Needle Building in San Francisco, and it appears in a lot of these movies like Venom. It's in the Sonic movies, to the point where it's like ridiculous. Like they don't even just show it in the background. Like people are wearing shirts of it in like the Sonic movie. They have a poster of it in this movie. Like it's crazy. Like Venom literally runs to the top of this and sits on top like a drop of black goo on the tip of a needle. And the official name of this building is the Trans-American Pyramid Building in San Francisco. So here they have the mist going over it, like the North Pole, because this represents the North Pole Mountain here. So this character, she runs like a health spa type of thing. This is like a mud bath, but this is also like a like black goo symbolism. When you see like people in mud, like in like Apocalypse Now, where he's in the mud going into like a different world essentially, or like going to hell basically. It's like the black goo eclipse too, like an Event Horizon. So she's walking by this guy who's body snatched, and he has this book that he's holding, and he tells her he should read this book. And you can't really see it here, but what the book is this Immanuel Velikovsky book called Worlds in Collision. So again, like same symbolism with the Vesica Pisces and the worlds colliding, and in the Body Snatchers movie. So he's like this creepy uh imposter body snatch character. And when she's talking to him, they only show her right eye because she still is like a right pillar oriented person, and she's still on the good side of things. So they only show her right eye. And I'm pretty sure she's like the only one who like survives at the end too. So Leonard Nimoy, he's tied to a lot of this stuff. He's like the head body snatcher, but he's pretending to be a good person. And like, so this woman's like, my husband isn't the same as he used to be. And he's like, no, you're just, he's trying to like tell her that it's just in her head and all this BS. But he's pretending to be like one of them, but he's actually the head alien. And here we have the group of people. They're all like friends, trying to figure out what's going on with all these people. Here's Donald Sutherland. So here's like the poster of the Needle Building. They keep showing that. Oh, also, yeah. So they even have this book here called The Adversaries, because these body snatching aliens, they're the adversaries. They could have put any book here they wanted, or no book. Everything on these sets is done by design. So they're trying to figure out, the adversaries, and here he is with the red shirt with the red glove on his left hand. So they're trying to figure it out, and they walk outside, and they literally put the Needle Building right in between the two guys. And then when Donald Sutherland later that night, he's falling asleep outside on like the patio, and he's literally looking right at the Needle Building as he's falling asleep, and he's getting taken over. And when you fall asleep, it's like being spiritually asleep. It's like a Nightmare on Elm Street. Also, you can't fall asleep in Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's like spiritual sleep. And then, of course, being spiritually awake is how you conquer these types of things. So here you have the tentacles, like the vine tentacles, wrapping around him, and then this is like the pod, shooting all the Kraken tentacles at him to replicate him. And they play this sound while this is happening, and it's like this echoey heartbeat, and it's actually a pretty creepy sound. And they play that exact sound in Spider-Man 3 when the black goo venom is taking over Peter Parker while he's asleep. So that he's like a Kraken character, although he's a good guy. But the Peter Parker with the PP is like the Antichrist, and he's being taken over by this black goo venom. And they're playing the exact same special effect sound as in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And you could check this out for yourself, of course. So here's like the black goo It's like the exact same scene. So they're equating this alien pod replication thing to the black goo alien venom. And both these things come from outer space because they're alien. And here's his right eye, and this is his right eye being taken over by the left black pillar. So here's back to Body Snatchers 1978. Whenever you see dartboards, this is the North Pole. You'd be surprised how many dartboards are in movies. Like I understand that a dartboard is a common thing to have, but it's always in these world, not always, but most of the time you'll see it in these world script movies and shows and stuff. And because it's the concentric circles, the black and white, then you have the needles being shot into them, and of course the bullseye is the center, and the center needle is the blue beam, but in this case these are like the smaller needles, which are like the V's. So he takes one out to like defend himself, because there's this whole team of body snatched people that essentially kidnap them. So Jeff Goldblum at this point has been body snatched, and Donald and this woman, they're still normal people, but all these people are ganging up on them now because there's too many of them. So they're holding them like this, and Leonard Nimoy again takes out the needle to put them to sleep, to like spiritual sleep. So and he's saying a bunch of really interesting things here too. I can't play you guys video, but if you check out this scene, I would recommend watching this movie, frankly, if you're interested, because it's like all the things they say are relevant to the world script also. So he's giving him the needle, looking at the needle. So keep in mind that Leonard Nimoy is the head body snatcher. So in episode 1, I've talked about this a bunch, where how like Darth Maul represents like the tattoo over the black tattoo over the spiked ball, and then someone pointed out too that this is like the Antichrist upside down black cross. And I've talked about this poster before too. So here we have the communication disruption. Um, this is the emperor pretending to have a communication disruption, but then so that this guy says, this is like a memeable line, like people make fun of this all the time, but it's actually really poignant to the world script, even though George Lucas writes it in a clunky way. Um, but he says a communications disruption can mean only one thing: invasion. And when they talk about when they mention this word invasion, they're talking about this body snatcher invasion, like that. This is one of the key word, like it's a key word essentially. So I make the point about body snatchers. Now I've talked about this before too, but so these aliens that are behind this Kraken robot army invasion into these blue domes, and here's like the blue beams. These aliens are called Nemoidians, and people thought that they were just making a reference to Star Trek, like, oh, it's like Leonard Nimoy, blah blah, blah. But it's not a Star Trek reference; it's an Invasion of the Body Snatchers reference. They really symbolize what's going on here. And like if you this is Star Wars. This is like one of the hugest media franchises there is. So of course it's heavy with the world script. Actually, to the point where it's actually pretty veiled in this movie. I don't think anyone's ever really talked about these things that I've been talking about here with this movie. So in this scene, Anakin is talking to this old woman, and she says there's a storm coming. So this is also a phrase that you'll hear in most of these movies. Somebody always says there's a storm coming, which represents the twin pillars merging at the central pillar, like we were talking about before. In this case, it's a sandstorm, but it's a storm regardless. So this is a really big thing too. They have the pod race, and pod racing had nothing to do with Star Wars. Nobody ever talked about that in previous Star Wars movies or anything. It was new to this Phantom Menace movie, um, and it's because it's the pod race, like a race of people, like a race of pod people. Now I understand that this is a race where they actually have vehicles and all this stuff, but it's just to put this symbolism out there, these words. So they constantly talk about pod race and pod racing. So it's essentially an excuse to keep saying these words over and over because it's a black magic spell. And then he represents the red pillar takeover, which is why he has 2 red pillars. So that's why he's the black and red. He's the tattooed black over the spikes. And in Nightmare on Elm Street, this is a big Mandela effect. Also, there's many Mandela effects. I mean, one also is that people remember him having 5 needles essentially, but now he only has 4. I'm not 100% on that one myself, but it makes sense to me. It looks kind of strange just having the plain thumb. Um, but what I do know for a fact that is a change is he now has two red sleeves. So this is like the red pillar takeover also because he represents the needles that kill people in their sleep when they're spiritually asleep. And his sweater used to have these black stripes up and down the sleeves, and they weren't black stripes; they were green stripes. And even Wes Craven says that he chose the colors red and green because they're difficult for the human eye to see. Because when you put like a certain shade of red and green next to each other, they kind of like our eyes don't really know what to do with them because they're opposite. But now he's more like black and or like red and black or like even like a dark gray or something. But that's another change too. But in this case, I want to point out the red sleeves. So he's got this is the same thing as the Darth Maul symbolism with the two red pillars. See, like here, it looks ridiculous. There's nothing about this that's difficult for the human eye to see because his sweater changed in two different ways. And here you can see sort of how it used to be. This is for the first movie. It's like a Blu-ray, and they have the stripes on his sleeves, but that's not the way it is in the movie. And same thing here. This is more like how it used to be. And this is from part two. So in part two, like I was saying with the door, part one has a red door and two red sleeves, but part one has a blue door now with two red sleeves on his sweater, but part two has a the original red door still and the stripes on his sleeves. And this also relates to Sonic. So he's the red and black Antichrist colors and he's the V, but Sonic is the yellow and blue Christ colors, and he represents the CV. You have the C and the V. And he used to have blue sleeves, but now his sleeves are like rolled up like skin color. And he kind of like has like, he does like this finger wagging, like no thing. Um, in my opinion, and this is from Jacobian also, but I agree with him that he's saying don't get the V. So this is a purposeful Mandela effect to say like don't roll up your sleeves. And then we even saw like this rolling up sleeves thing in a previous live stream and previous videos I did with the man who sold the world cover with David Bowie. I don't have it here, but you could see it in my previous streams if you haven't seen it. The original Man Who Sold the World cover, it looks like a cowboy who's holding a giant needle, and he has a blank speech bubble next to him. And then when they released a 50-year anniversary of the record on 2020, which is when the V came out, and the speech bubble said, "Roll up your sleeves." So like that's really really crazy if you think about what I just said. um, so here we have the red pillar takeover. So and he's fighting the two. These are both Christ characters. You have the green right pillar and the blue central pillar. And then this Christ character dies so that this Christ character can rise like the phoenix and become, a more complete Christ character who eventually battles Christ versus Antichrist when he fights Anakin at the end of the third movie. And this red, blue, and green symbolism too can also be simplified into red versus blue because like the green is like the way to the blue essentially. So you'll often see just red versus blue. It's a simpler way to do it. Now that's how like the original Star Wars was, where like Obi-Wan's the Christ character, and Vader's the Antichrist character. It's red versus blue. You'll red versus blue comes up a lot. It's essentially Christ versus Antichrist. So here they are fighting by the all these blue beam looking devices. I mean, like what even is this room? Like it's just to show the blue beams essentially because they're fighting inside the North Pole Mountain essentially. And then this pit here is the pit to the abyss. So he's the black and red Antichrist. So like we saw with Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, he falls down into the abyss. Um, and then so this is the first Christ character dying, and here we have the mirror symbolism too, and here we have like the concentric circles and all that. And then Obi-Wan flips up over him. This is like the phoenix rising up out of the abyss essentially because he got knocked kind of into the abyss and now he's up over it. You'll see the Christ character have to go down into the abyss and then rise back up, and that actually happens in the Bible too. Like when Jesus dies on the cross, he goes down into the underworld and then he goes back up into heaven, which is what the blue beam does. So here he gets taken by surprise and killed. and then the red and black falls down into the abyss. So this is so the Invasion of the Body Snatchers movies are based on a book by Robert Heinlein called The Puppet Masters, and they also made a movie called The Puppet Masters. And this movie, The Puppet Masters, also happens to star Donald Sutherland. So this is how, like I was saying earlier, they repeat this symbolism over and over again. That it's all about repetition with this spellcraft. So they have the same guy starring in both things. And when the alien puppet masters arrive on Earth, it looks like this. And like, look what happens. I'll just like kind of go through it. Here, this is like the blue beam and the apex dome symbolism. This is what happens in the beginning of the movie. And they also show people on like a water mirror too. So when they're doing these credits for the intro to the movie, and Keith David is another one who comes up a lot. He's in They Live. He's also in The Thing, which I'll talk about soon here if I get to it. I'm doing all right, I guess. But when they do these credits for the Puppet Master, they play the same sound that I mentioned happens in Invasion of the Body Snatchers and in Spider-Man 3 when Venom takes him over. It's the exact same sound again. So the same sound with Puppet Masters, Body Snatchers, and Spider-Man Venom. And this is just the intro credits. So this guy kills himself with a needle. This is Puppet Masters. So this guy is an imposter, and they don't show hardly any signs in this movie, but they happen to just show him walking in front of this sign, Lulu. And this is the left pillar takeover. The Lu is like Lucifer for the left pillar. So he's got Lu and then Lu. So this is on purpose. They could have showed anything. He just like walks on this street for like 10 seconds. So and then what he's doing is he's going to this apartment complex, and he goes to talk to this guy named Greenberg, and Berg means mountain. So he's going essentially to the North Pole Mountain. And it's also the number 3 too. And it is said to be 33 miles wide. And there's a lot of connections you can go to. So in this at this North Pole Mountain, they have this crate of little pods, like these little body snatcher cocoons, similar also to like the Gremlins cocoons. So he picks one up and he shows them to this guy, and it opens. And it's also just like in the Alien movies. And in the Alien movies, these things open up, and they're like essentially little krakens come out, and they're called face huggers. And the kraken tentacles go over the person's face and inject them with essentially the V, and then they become body snatched. Because their whole purpose from that point on is to, give birth to the alien that's growing inside of them. So all these movies are interconnected. I'll talk about the Alien movies too in the future because I've seen pretty much all of them. I've talked about them in previous videos too. So this guy, this is like what the body snatched people look like to us when I say the Mandela effect is real, or that the astronauts are lying to us. This is kind of like the reaction I get from people who don't agree with that. But so he's putting this like face hugger. Actually, it's not a face hugger in this movie, but it's like the alien face hugger, and it shoots this tentacle out to the back of the person's head. This is also like the Holy Spirit connection. There's a lot going on. I don't want to get off too much of a tangent because I still got a lot to cover. But yeah, so anyway, this guy's getting body snatched now, and it's within a mirror too. Like they're in a mirror, so they often have mirror symbolism with this kind of stuff. And then these tentacles come out of his back, and these tentacles they like connect to each other, and this is how the hive mind communicates with each other by connecting kraken tentacles. So going back to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Oh, so here actually, this is a little clip from Alien Resurrection. This movie is like, if you don't mind like really crazy like R-rated movies, Alien Resurrection is huge with world script stuff. So here, for example, this is like an experiment they're conducting, and they have these alien pods in these cocoon cases, essentially these glass cases with these sleeping people. So they're spiritually asleep people who are about to be body snatched, and the alien pods open up like right in front of their faces, basically, and take them over. So this movie, The Invasion, this came out in 2007, and this is also really this is like a utopia level crazy how much is in this movie because it's all about the V, and they even go crazier with it. Hey, Hazel Fivers in the chat. What's up, man? I actually I messaged your channel a bunch of times. So definitely check out Hazel Fivers' channel. He's awesome. Um, so going back to this invasion movie, came out in 2007. This is an Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie. So this is one of the posters. It says, "Don't sleep, don't go home. I'll find you, mom." So interestingly enough, that happens in the movie, but it's not the same thing. She says, "Don't sleep. I'm looking for you. Text me. I love you, mom." So they changed it to this. It still has the "don't sleep" at the top. So this is important. Like, don't be spiritually asleep. But it also says, "Don't go home." Now, home usually relates to paradise or the North Pole, but it's not the right time for us to go there. Um, Basically, God is finding us right now. We're not we're not in a position where we can go home right now, but hopefully soon. And then this word mom, I mean, of course, the word mom has a ton of connotations to it, but this is like the essentially the portal in the middle of the mountain. So you have like the split mountain or like the Mount Meru, and then the portal in the center. So it's basically like saying God will find us by communicating from the North Pole. Because the person who made this movie, like, I'm not just saying this to make something up. Like, the person who made this movie, it's like every minute there's something world script, predictive programming in this movie. Like, they're some kind of fallen angel. I don't know what they are, but they know the world script, and this movie is loaded with stuff. So, like, here when it starts out, they literally showed the CDC, and they have like the CNN. Like what are these entities doing in a body snatcher movie? Like shouldn't they like sue? Like didn't you have to used to like say like the CBC or something, or like CBN, or just make up your own thing. But in this movie they're just straight up showing Centers for Disease Control and CNN and all this stuff, and the dangerous virus. Now keep in mind this came out in 2007. Oh wait, I just said a word. There might be like some kind of blip here. Let me get a drink. All right, so um yeah, so this guy's he's body snatched. He's like the speaker for the Centers for Disease Control, which is also a Mandela effect because it used to be the Center for Disease Control, now it's Centers, and they're putting the black goo in the coffee. So coffee is often symbolic of black goo in these movies. Now these guys are both body snatched, and they're talking to a room full of reporters who aren't body snatched. So he works for the CDC, and this woman is a reporter, and she literally asks the guy if the pan just started, like if we just heard about this disease, how could you guys be ready with a V so quickly? So that's literally something that came up in 2020. Like that like this is like fiction, completely predictive programming reality, like to a T, like to the point where it's literally the CDC and CNN reporters and people like that asking, how could you possibly have a V ready so fast? So like I said, the person who made this movie knows the world script. This is unquestionable. And then this is gross, sorry, but they're literally like spitting into the coffee. So these are like body snatched people, and they're spitting into the coffee and serving it to people. And then later, this is the CDC guy. He's actually the father of the one of the main kids in the movie. It's like Nicole Kidman's kid, and he's like her ex-husband, but he's got the he like asks to have the kid over because he wants to body snatch him. So he's making hot chocolate, so he's literally a body snatched imposter from the CDC, and he says, "Do you want some hot chocolate?" And the kid looks at him because this kid, he knows what's up. But what's interesting is this kid's name is Oliver, and he is immune to this. So I think he does probably end up drinking the hot chocolate, and he does also go to sleep, but he's immune to all this, which is interesting. So the movie starts too with the kraken smoke tentacles, hitting the earth. Also the spike balls like this. And that guy that I just showed you, who was the body snatched CDC guy, he lives in a house with a bright red door. See, here he is here. So this isn't just a coincidence. They probably, just painted the door red for the movie because it's important that he has a red door. This is all the correct, symbolism. So here's Nicole walking her son to school, and he's Superman because he's like, the magical child essentially, and they make a point of showing these two girls run by because they're like the twins. And also you got like the gray, white, and black symbolism too, the central pillar and all that. But they want to show the twins, and they're like witches, I guess. I don't know what they're supposed to be, honestly. So here you have like the needle symbolism, and when these are all people lined up to get the jab, guys, and they call it take the step. Like, so basically, like take the step into the abyss, essentially. So here, you got two people at the top of this building. There's a whole lot you can get into with this. Um, but these people fall. So here again with the falling people symbolism. And now this crowd is watching and they have no emotions. Now she hasn't been taken over, but she has to pretend to be one of them or else they'll, point at her like in the Donald Sutherland Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie where he points at people who aren't body snatched yet. So she has to pretend to be one of the body snatched. So this is like an example of a good imposter, essentially. So here, this poor old woman is on a train or a subway, and she's, doesn't know what's going on. But all three of these people are body snatched, and they're literally giving her a needle to sleep. So they're putting her to spiritual sleep, and then when she wakes up, she doesn't gonna wake up, but she'll be body snatched. So then Nicole goes into this restroom in the subway, and she's standing in front of a mirror. So again, with the mirror symbolism, with the body snatching. Oh, is anybody having a sound issue? Susie is saying the sound is cutting out. That happens sometimes. Sometimes it could be when I go too fast through the images or when I move my mouse. I have a tendency to like move my mouse around fast, but I think sometimes that that might. Okay, all right, so we're good. So anyway, Nicole, she starts falling asleep, and when she's asleep, she's having this dream of looking in the mirror, and in the mirror she sees her twin self. So this is like her evil twin left pillar, and then she, hits herself over the head, to kill her. So this is like the left pillar takeover. But then she wakes up quickly enough before she gets body snatched. So then when the whole world is essentially body snatched, except for a few people, like us, they have the peace accord. So they're literally showing what's going to happen in the world, because this is like the peace that the Antichrist is going to bring to the world. And this is probably going to mainly take place in Jerusalem. But I guess we'll see how that. Uh, we'll see what happens there. And this symbol too, you have the eye pillar and the Vesica Pisces and all that. So anyway, this is Nicole driving with a bunch of body snatched people attached to her car because they're like, at this point, they're like desperate to take her over because she's one of the last people who isn't body snatched. So what she does is she runs her car. She puts the brakes on right before hitting this building, and the people go flying through the glass. And notice how it says Lucy. So the people break the glass. This is like the firmament breaking, but this is also the Lucy mannequins. Like how crazy is that? So like they're saying like these, puppet bodies, like these lifeless bodies are like Lucy. Like that, like they could have done anything, but they chose to do Lucy mannequins. And then at the end of the movie, they have all this eclipse symbolism with the credits. They show this, and the guy's name who made this movie is Oliver. So this was the name of that kid I was talking about. So I think he's basically saying, he's immune to this too. Like maybe this is like a good person who's warning people. I don't know who this person is, but very interesting that the director has the same name as the kid who's immune to the body snatching. Now, this I'll just go through this real quick, but body snatching comes up almost constantly in world script stuff, even when you wouldn't expect it. Like, does anyone remember that Lost is actually a body snatcher show? Because the whole final season of Lost is about Locke being a body snatched person, essentially the Antichrist, and he's going around taking over different people. Like, not to give like too much away, it's an old show, but like Saeed, I know, turns to like the dark side, and then Claire becomes one of the body snatched people, and he basically creates like a Kraken army of the spiritually dead people in Lost. And then Jack's like the Christ character, and at the end of the movie or at the end of the season, he literally has to fight. It's the Christ character versus the Antichrist character, fighting on a mountain in a storm in the rain. And then Under the Dome, like, do you remember Under the Dome being a body snatcher show? Because the whole 3rd season is about body snatching, and they're even in, like, cocoon pods, and there's, like, this alien queen who's, like, the Leonard Nimoy character, essentially, and she's trying to body snatch everybody who's under this dome. And, same thing with this World's End movie. This is like a comedy movie, and here you have, like, the Kraken, tentacles shooting down onto the earth, and, this whole movie is about, body snatchers. Um, yeah, so you can see in the background, like, all these people, it's like, the whole town they go back to is snatched, and then they try to body snatch these characters too. So, again, this is like a comedy movie. So, it appears in different kinds of movies, this, world scripting. So going back to the Matrix, here's a body snatched person. This guy was a good guy, but he was taken over by Smith, the, Antichrist imposter, and he enters, Neo's world. So this is Smith. This is essentially the Antichrist spirit inside of a person in the real world, and he ends up blinding Neo, so Neo can't see out of his normal eyes anymore. But what happens is because he blinded Neo like this, Neo actually learns to see with his third eye, so he can see Smith regardless of being blinded. So actually, the Kraken Antichrist entity on Earth is how we evolve to be where we're at right now because we need this adversary in order to test us and push us essentially. So then when Neo enters the Matrix and goes into Smith's world, so here we have not just the worlds merging, but the worlds switching. That this is like that mirror symbolism also. When he enters the world, it's a storm. And it's this huge storm, and here's Neo, and here's all the Smiths. This is like the clone Kraken army. See, it's all these Smiths, and they're in the rain. And this is again the Christ versus Antichrist. So this is literally the exact same thing that happens at the end of Lost. It's the Christ versus Antichrist characters fighting in the rainstorm, and that's of course at the central pillar, which is the water pillar. And then they dance in the rain. Dancing is like fighting, and they also fight inside of a house because the house is the temple. So here's a Smith going into the portal in the house to fight the Christ character. So it's like Christ versus Antichrist inside of the house, inside of the temple. And then at the end of the fight, Neo allows Smith to invade him. So this is like the left pillar invasion, the black goo covering Neo. But the reason he allows this is because he's so spiritually powerful right now that he can defeat Smith with just his spiritual power. And this is because, so this is the marriage of the twin pillars, essentially. This is like that marriage symbolism too. So here's like the black goo taking him over, and the Christ symbolism, the cross, and this is like the Kraken hair too. Interestingly enough, and here's like the eclipse symbolism, and this is because he's plugged into the source, and it's called the machine mainframe, which is again like the MM, and this is like Mount Meru. So Neo's like plugged into the source at the North Pole Mountain, which is why he's so spiritually powerful and light to defeat Smith's darkness. So then once now it's too late for Smith to do anything, and he ends up shining. So he turns the Smith's darkness into light, and this is basically what we have to do to fully advance spiritually, um, to fully like evolve spiritually, to become like a as much of a light being as we can, is to conquer our left dark pillar with our shining light. And then they show basically this is the North Pole symbolism. You got the X inside of the circle, and then it essentially is like the Star of Bethlehem also. And then this is like the North Pole. This is like the continents at the North Pole essentially. This is like the rivers, like the four rivers at the North Pole. So it's Christ beating Antichrist at the North Pole essentially. So when I pick O2, all right, so this is just going to quickly get into the red over the black and white. This is like the blood on the dance floor symbolism. This is like the Christ sacrifice, and here's where she's holding the apple, which becomes our blooming third eye, like we saw with the Bloomingdales. So in Stanley Kubrick's movie Clockwork Orange, um, here you have this couple. They're in a house, and they actually have a sign that says home. So that's like the North Pole. And here's the red over the black and white. And then they have the masculine invasion into their house, and here's the mirror symbolism as well. So here's like the masculine home invaders. Here in Terminator 2, I got to get to the end of this. In Terminator 2, here's these are the twins that you saw in Gremlins 2. So you have the red hair over the black and white, and here's like he basically represents the V, and he's like the imposter because he could be anybody essentially. So you have the two red jacks. This is like a red pillar takeover because Jack is the right pillar. Here's that. Two red jacks, evil twin. So he's looking at it, and this is also a Mandela effect too, where judgment lost its E. So he's saying, "Hey, I got a full house." But the reason that he got a full house, it's not because of what's on this cup, even though it's got the cards of a full house. But he has a full house because he's got the twins, in one spot in the house, and he's going to have a left pillar takeover here. So he looks at himself essentially, and then he gets killed by a needle, and he hits him with the needle like right here. I would kind of expect it most of the time to be like here, like through the third eye, but they even make a point of kind of going towards the left eye to kill him. Sorry, I know, I know it's like violent or whatever, but and also keep in mind too, he was drinking coffee when this happened, so that's the black goo. So he ingests the black goo and then gets taken over by his left pillar. And then I think these words changed. Oh, I guess I just had dilemma up there too, but because we're in a judgment dilemma, like that's why these words changed, in my opinion. That's why a lot of all these words changed. Like the word cemetery changed because we're in a realm of the dead. Cemetery used to have end with ARY, but now it's three E's. So man, I don't want to get too into this. Uh, this is the video with Tom Hanks as excuse me for a second. So there are nodes in the Mandela effect. Like Sally Fields has a ton of Mandela effects. The Statue of Liberty has changed a bunch of times. Jim Carrey's involved with a bunch of changes. The Wizard of Oz has a ton of changes, and Tom Hanks has a bunch of changes, including the name. F.A.O. Schwartz changed. And he's famous for doing this scene in Big. Castaway is like two words now, and there's a ton of Tom Hanks related changes. But his name hasn't changed because his name, Tom means twin, and Hank is like Henry, which means ruler of the house. So it's like twin rulers of the house, the wheat and the tare. And like in the Bible, it says the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while he slept, spiritually sleeping, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. That's like the invasion of the left pillar. They both grow together until the harvest. So we're almost at the harvest, and our twin pillars have been growing together all this time. And now it's a question of which pillar is going to rule us. So here's the thing, which I was talking about before, and this is where the dogs come into play. Also, this is merged. The T and the H are merged together. You can see how this is very bold, defined lettering, but the T and the H are merged together. So the dogs are barking at an imposter dog, and here you have the tentacles coming out of the imposter dog, and also spider legs, because the tentacles, the kraken, represent the kraken, and also the spider legs represent the kraken. It's all the same symbolism. That's why they put them all in the same creature. So this is the imposter dog, which is the reverse of God, and it goes right after this first guy, and they only show his shadow because this is like his dark half, his left pillar that is being taken over. So this is creepy. Sorry, I'm sure this is an adorable dog, although he's probably passed away. But this is from the movie Phantoms, where this dog is also a black goo imposter, and this is from the movie The Hidden, where this dog is also a black goo imposter. And this is a Mandela effect for the movie Black Dog, because the K was not low like this. It's kind of like what we see with a lot of the R extended legs, and there might be other merging too. And this is another poster or a cover that I've seen for this movie. And notice how the K here isn't long. And I would say, keep an eye on this because I obviously can't predict exactly what's going to change. But I would say that this L and A, they are kind of merged at the bottom here, but there is like a gap in between them. So I would expect this L and A to merge at some point. That's just a guess from what I've seen, but just something to keep in mind, like this. So this movie Black Sheep definitely was not like this. It looks crazy. See how the L and the A are merged together, and they're not even like merged together necessarily. The A even lost its leg here, and it's over the L. And this actually changed after I've been mentioning it, because the other letters were all kind of lined up, and then the K now goes down, and the H goes up and down, and the P goes down. But this was all just straight across, and the A was just separate normal font from the L. And of course, the symbolism here too, with the like the sheep or the lamb and the black. So here's the hidden again. So hidden, directed by Jack Shoulder. That's very strange. Jack is like the right pillar, and the shoulder is like the top of the pillar. Also, this is apparently a real person. He actually directed one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think Part Two and some other stuff like Tales from the Crypt. So I think it's a real person. But very interesting name. Maybe he was selected to do this because of that, or maybe he picked this. Maybe it's like a stage name that he picked. I don't know, but it's very strange. So here's like I think he's like the chief or the captain of the police, and here we see the not just the all-seeing eye, but it's like the CBS logo, but it's also like the wheels within wheels type of symbolism, and that'll come into play because he gets body snatched later. So here's this guy is body snatched already, and this guy isn't body snatched yet. But here you see like the spider kraken being coming out of his mouth. It's kind of gross, but all the tentacles and stuff, go into this guy. So now he's body snatched. And this whole scene has a ton of stuff. If you ever want to see this movie or whatever, this whole scene has a ton of symbolism. And you see, like it says, truth here with the stars. That's interesting. And here, when he after he kills that guy and leaves, they have 911 basically on the clock. So anything, so they chose that. And then when the cops come, it's like a minute before midnight, essentially. And then this is interesting too. My pink half. Keep that in mind for now, because like I was saying, pink is like a good color essentially. Because this is going to come into play if I can get through it quickly. Now here, this cop's doing like the devil horns. He actually tells. So this is also the star from Twin Peaks. So again, with the he's in the body snatching, the hidden movie. So they it's like how Donald Sutherland was in at least two of these types of movies. So he's doing the devil horns to him, and he tells him to go back to Seattle. And Seattle is like a big North Pole symbol, and he's also basically a good. He's like the good CV essentially. He's like a good alien. So he's like the CV versus the V, basically. So now this stripper character, she gets body snatched after this scene, but note she's got the dollar sign on her shirt. So this stripper character doesn't know what a dollar sign looks like. Again, it's like what was I showing before? Oh, the $1 million man. Yeah, he doesn't know what a dollar sign looks like either. So now she's body snatched and she leaves the place. And interestingly, she walks by a tattoo shop. So again, with this like black goo, the black ink symbolism, and the red and black sports car, and this body snatcher alien is really into like rock and roll and sports cars, and like basically in love with the physical world is what it's saying. So this guy comes up to hit on her, and he's wearing the black jacket, and they're in front of the tattoo place, and she obviously kills him. And then what happens too is out like this. So this is like the Kali symbolism, and we also see this, in some of the people in our world, like the politicians and business leaders and stuff. They're always. And I understand like people can like wet their lips because they talk a lot, like I might do if I'm talking a lot, but they're doing that. If you watch this movie, it's on purpose that they're sticking the tongue out. So then, very similar to the invasion movie, um, they have a car chase and they go crashing through a mannequin store, and here's the glass breaking, and here's all the mannequins, and it's Neptune mannequins. Like I was showing earlier with like the tree of life, like Neptune being at the top. So Neptune, in my opinion, is symbolic of God. But here you can't really see it in this shot, but she goes through the door called Neptune. So this is like God's double, which is like the devil, in my opinion, or the Antichrist. And then she goes crashing through this sign to get away from the cops, because this body snatcher doesn't care if he kills the bodies as long as he can jump into another body. So she jumps through this reverse Neptune sign. So again, it's like the reverse of God, like how dog is the reverse of God. So she jumps through it. Now here it's forward, but not when she first jumped through it. But then also we see the falling symbolism. So she falls because you always see these antichrist people falling. So she falls to the ground, and then this dog walks up to her. So that's how the alien body snatcher jumps into this dog. And then there's a dog in the mirror looking at itself in the mirror. So again, with the body snatcher mirror symbolism. And then here's the guy we saw from the beginning, and he just happens to be eating an apple, like like an Adam and Eve, symbolism, the sin or whatever. So right after he takes a bite out of the apple, the dog comes jumping through the door, but through the glass. So here again with the glass breaking, and then the dog knocks him out, it knocks into him, and he gets knocked unconscious, and it takes him over. And they show the dog sticking its tongue out. And I understand dogs stick their tongue out, but if you watch this movie, it's not a normal dog sticking its tongue out. It's the alien doing it. It looks strange the way they do it. And here, this guy's finding out that Olympic Mountain or whatever, which is the North Pole Mountain or the forest garden. So the alien like body snatched him essentially, but in a good way to use him for good. And see, like here, he's transferring his life force essentially to this cop who's about to die. And it's like, gold. Because like, blue and violet are good colors too, but gold is, of course, also a good color. So here, this is a senator who got taken over by the body snatcher, and he sticks his tongue out like that to show Kyle that he's taken over. And at the end of the movie, he says he wants to become president. He's talking to the number 6 microphone. So again, we got, they often go up to like the president or like the high politicians with these body snatchers. And then in this movie, the Phantoms, we got the black goo takeover of this guy. Here's the black goo with the tentacles, and then she says Jesus or Jesus Christ when this happens. So they often, because this is like black magic, they their god is this black goo kraken entity. So you'll often see these characters saying Jesus or my god or something like that when they first see the alien black goo or something. Like in the movie Venom, when the scientist business owner guy who's kind of like an Elon Musk character, when he first sees the alien black goo, he goes, "My God," because that's their god. So the black goo fills his helmet, but this is like the black goo dome, and then the tentacles going up, and then he's got the black goo dome. It's also Copperfield is important too. I don't want to get into it. Um, and here's the black goo filling his dome here, just like the donut saying just like the prime minister in Life Force. Yeah, they always go to the top of politics and to run the world essentially, and I think that's what's happened basically in our world as well. So the dome cracks, and then he falls, but then he rises again like a dark phoenix, and he's basically resurrected as a part of the hive mind. So he's part of this Kraken hive mind now. He's an imposter, and then they have needles. So this guy, he was a villain from the start. He was like a bad cop, and he gets taken over by the Kraken too, of course. And his bottom half of his body becomes these Kraken tentacles. So this is like the roots of the tree of life, basically. And the girls are running from him, and artboard again. This is like at the North Pole. The Christ character is essentially fighting the Antichrist at the North Pole. And he says, well, he has to basically crawl on the ground now because he can't even walk. So he says, it's limbo time. But think about like limbo time. It's like a time of, in between, uh, life and the afterlife, or however you want to put it. And then he says, how low can you go? And that's showing like the Kraken character is going down to the abyss, basically. Like how low can they bring society during this limbo time that we're in? So here's the thing. Hold on one second. So here, ready? And this is a movie by John Carpenter. So again, you have the JC symbolism. Here's Kurt Russell, the star. He's saying that he knows some of these people are body snatched already. Here's Keith David again. He's in a lot of these movies. And he says there's a storm that's going to hit us in 6 hours. And then we're going to find out. He says we're going to find out who's who. But he's basically saying, we're going to find out which one of you people are left pillar or right pillar people. So then here at the end of the movie, they have the burning house. And this is like the right pillar and left pillar left over. They're like the only two left essentially. Then at the beginning of the movie, you have the white and black symbolism, the Joaquin and Boaz, and he's playing chess the black and white chessboard comes up a lot in these movies. Sorry, excuse me. Um, and he's like, previous video that I made. Um, so they live no longer has the exclamation point. Sorry, I'm just getting tired. I really, I'm almost done. Uh, they live isn't an exclamation anymore. It's a statement of fact. So here we have Keith David again, and this is Roddy Piper, but this is like the right fighting each other. So they basically have to fight. You know, it's like Fight Club. They have to like dance. It's like a dance. And so he's like the white right pillar. He's like the black left pillar. And you could consider these to be like the same person, basically. And his right pillar was always awake, always interested in what was going on around him, and he was investigating all this, body snatching weirdness that's been going on. And the left pillar wanted nothing to do with it. He just wanted to keep his head down and go back to work and not not bother anybody or whatever. So they have to literally fight, and he eventually forces his left pillar take to put the glasses on and see the truth. So this is like spiritual evolution of a complete person, essentially. And they see in black and white too when they see the truth, because that's like the, and now he's seeing it. um, Adventures of Link. This is also a Mandela effect because now it's the adventure of Link. It used to be adventures plural because the game is like just like Link doing various adventures. It isn't story really, but now it's just adventure. And the word Advent also ties to Jesus too, like the Advent calendar. But I don't want to get too into that right now. But that's just something to think about. But the main villain in this, there isn't like a boss or anything in this game. The main villain is actually Dark Link. So you have to he has to fight his shadow self. And of course, you got the sword in the stone symbolism going on. And at the end of the game, you basically achieve the capstone when you defeat your dark the dark version of yourself. Oh yeah, so in the beginning credits of the game, or like the title screen, this is the sword in the stone symbolism too. A couple more video games here. This I know that not many people would know about this, but I know for a fact that this changed because I have this game, and I like buy and sell old media, and this was one of the old Atari games that I happen to have, and I just noticed it because I thought this Apollo logo was interesting, and but I thought it was kind of a boring text because this just said infiltrate, very boringly, and then Apollo, the A wasn't over to the right. So like now the A in Apollo leans to the right, this A leans to the right, and the R and the A are merged together, and this is, infiltrate. It's like infiltrate the right pillar, perhaps. And Contra, this definitely changed. I think a lot of people should resonate with this, especially the T. Like this looks like a backwards like 7. Like, so this used to be just a normal T, guys. Like, this was like one of the biggest NES games of all time, and now the A leans to the left also, but the T is like really, really noticeable to me. And of course, you got like the alien symbolism and all that. Identity thief. This is again on this topic because this used to be identity theft, but now it's thief because that's like the left pillar takeover, and like, it's like it's all about the imposters. This is all just clips from previous videos I made. Double bubble. This is like the Vesica Pisces, the double bubble, double step. Um, so that's kind of like losing a 6, perhaps, and double. And also, this is like it's got the interesting coloring. There's a lot to get into. So Thunderdome, two men enter, one man leaves. This is like the two pillars under the dome, and only one survives, essentially. Lynch movie, when one of the main characters notices that Patricia Arquette is actually two people, he notices it right next to a number 6 lamp, and then on this picture it's two Patricia Arquettes, so she has like a double, and he's like confused about it. Or it's like the twin pillars essentially. So that here, just the 936. So like 6 is the double of 3. So this is like the double imposter, the left pillar, and it's also the mirror imposter of 9. So this is the 6, the left pillar that wants to take over and be the imposter of the right pillar, and it also wants to take the place of God, essentially. So here's the twin pillars. Harry Potter. What did I say? He's talking to Siri well, and he's basically saying that so he's like the Christ character and Voldemort's the Antichrist character, and he's saying that like Voldemort's like inside of his head basically, and he feels like he might be becoming evil, like he has like twin spirits essentially, like we all have. And Sirius says we all have negativity inside of us, but what matters is which pillar you act on basically. So you're not a bad person just because you're having like bad thoughts every now and then. You're only a bad person if you act on those bad thoughts. And that's a life lesson. That's basically what happens with our twin pillars, because we all have like some kind of negative weird crazy thoughts every now and then, but what matters is what do we act on? Do we act on the right pillar that wants to do the good thing, or do we act on the left, negative pillar that wants to do the bad thing or the antichrist thing? So this show, Severance, uh, this shows the twin symbolism and all that. You got the Saturn time on the left here. This is also kind of like my pink half that I was talking about with the hidden. Um, Here they show the people, they're like the coffee mug essentially. This is the intro to the show, and then they have like the black goo people get sucked up into this needle tube essentially, and it's actually a giant syringe, and then there's like black goo people inside of the syringe, and then it gets like put all over the main character's face essentially. So it's like he's being covered in black goo, or like a black goo jacket. And um and then there's like in the shadow, this is like the Kraken, army of, black goo people. And like this is like just so crazy. Like what does like a normie think, when they're watching these shows? Like so all this like black goo symbolism in this like Severance show. It's just like so crazy. And I think this relates to the Bible Mandela effect, where there's two men in a bed now. In at least some Bible versions, it says one will be taken and one will be left. But I think it's like it doesn't necessarily have to be like what a lot of people think it is. I won't even say, but it could just be like literally about one person in our twin pillars, and we're like in a garden bed essentially. Um, and then they show at the end of this intro here that they merge into one person. So it's like you have two men in a bed, but this is the same person, and they merge into one guy. And then here in the show, they even show the black goo pouring over this guy's desk, because this guy is not having he's not doing well, and he's painting in black goo in his other life too. So he's got like the black goo left pillar takeover going on. All right, so we're going to end it here on a high note. So this is the Shawshank Redemption. It's also something by Stephen King, who's a huge world scripter, and this is the storm essentially. And he does the Christ pose in the storm because he's successful of getting out of the prison. The name Shawshank means the woods on the pointed hill. So essentially, it's the tree mountain redemption. It's the redemption at the North Pole. And red is the left pillar person, and Andy is the right pillar. And Andy was wrongfully accused, and he was forced to enter Red's nightmare prison world. So you can see the prison as our, and these are the twin pillars under the dome, just like we were seeing with Beyond Thunderdome. Two men enter, one leaves. So he Oh, so the name Andy Dufresne means the brave man from the prominent ash tree. So this is the Yggdrasil tree, and the brave man. So this is the phoenix. So he's the phoenix Christ character, and he teaches Red how to play chess and how to become spiritually alive again. So Antichrist character, because he just wanted to stay in prison for the rest of his life. He just cared about the physical world. But Andy's influence, his Christ-like influence, wins over Red with his spiritual brightness. So it's basically like what happens in the Matrix between Neo and Smith. So he ignites a spiritual spark in him. So now here's Andy. Despite the prison warden is basically the devil, he's the ruler of the world. But Andy was playing chess with the devil essentially. So the brave man, he stayed several moves ahead of the devil, and he won the spiritual chess game in the end. This is what we all should be doing right now. We should be understanding what the devil's doing, how the devil's running the world, and playing our own spiritual chess game with the Holy Spirit and God, guiding us, and taking this narrow path, even though it sucks. But this is the path out. And then when he finally gets out, and this all happens during the storm too. He gets out, he's cleansed by the rain, he does the, and then his spirit in turn fuels Red to join him at the North Pole. So he wants something more. So he goes to the tree mountain at the North Pole. This is snatchers. Whenever you see like a big tree like this in the middle of nowhere, it's like the world tree. Um, and he was to find the Black Rock. So the Black Rock is the North Pole mountain, and he pulls that away and he finds the Titanic. And I don't want to get into that Titanic symbolism now, but it's definitely big time. And if you want to see more on this, check out my Tree of Life video. So this is essentially the rebirth, or like, the phoenix rising from the left pillar, essentially. So then Andy is on his vessel at in paradise, essentially, and he's got the blue and yellow stripes on this vessel. And I don't even know if these used to be here. This might even be a Mandela effect. I don't know, but either way, he's got a blue and yellow vessel, and then Red joins him on the shores of paradise. Um, and there's a lot more. I think I think this is from my rain dance video. If anyone wants to check that out too, if you haven't seen it. So yeah, so that's the end of this presentation. It was probably way too much, but yeah, I appreciate all you guys being here, and I think my voice is pretty shot, but yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I wish you all the best. And until next time, uh, I'll say good luck and God bless, guys. I'll see you on the next one.